Are you ready? I'm sorry, you set me up for that. Let's love a bit of Elton John.
Hello, everybody! We're on the Lines UK. Matthew Turner, Anthony
He's such a
Fitzpatrick.
twat.
I said we were going on. It's not my fault. It's your
I thought
fault.
you meant on the. I thought you meant on the the blue screen, not the actual thread.
No, we've been on the blue screen for 2.5 minutes.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Oh well. Oh well, I'll stand to it. Who doesn't love a bit of Elton John? They're guilty. Whatever.
Yeah.
Great way to open a stream. I'm gonna get any better than that. So show's done.
Oh yeah. How you doing, Ash? You right?
I'm all right. Yeah, you.
Yeah, we're all right. I'm getting in my usage of my Romeo Acquara jersey as much as possible before his inevitable cutting. I've accepted that he's going at the end of this.
Yeah.
I realise that we'll potentially get to this.
T's and P's. T's and P's. Thoughts and prayers.
Oh,
That's what you say now. It's just the easy way to say thoughts and prayers now. So
see, this is just what I thought was your list of things that Americans don't understand. T's and P's.
Hey, he said that, not me.
Hey,
I didn't.
you'll
I'm not
never
starting any
find-
culture. I'm
you'll
not
never
starting any.
No, you'll never find a British person go to America saying, "Oh, this is a lovely cup of tea." It's not going to happen.
No, but that's more on them, isn't it? So refusal to be educated on it, and good peas.
Det Fan Man brings up a good point, saying he's getting ready for the karaoke experience that we're going to provide.
yes.
If anyone can think,
Oh wait, were they listening to me sing? You're a real dick if you had that on while I was singing.
I said we're going
Wait.
live now, and then I repeated we're going live now, and you continue to sing through it. It's not my fault. You were warned several times.
You warned me 3 times. 3 times.
Once,
you get 3
twice,
warnings.
3 times.
3
Anthony
times.
Fitzpatrick.
I thought we were doing a duet there.
Oh dear.
Ryan's
Yeah,
like,
so if-
I'm not sure if I want to come into this thread or not.
No, I know, right?
Bless him. No, he's gone. He's done. Yeah.
He is done.
There's too much rubbish in there today.
Does anyone have, for the listeners as much as us, does anyone have any idea how we can actually legally stream copyrighted music that we can sing along to? Because we'll get a strike on YouTube and Twitch for playing copyrighted music.
I think there are like karaoke backing tracks on YouTube that you can use to do it, because I know there's obviously, I swear Pride of Choice has done it before, and I swear there's like Twitch streamers who literally their entire thing is people request songs and they sing it. So there's got to be a way of them doing it.
Who did they sing? Jeremy strikes me as someone who would like go after a Tina Turner ballad or something. I reckon he'd do well with that.
Yes! I love it. Oh, actually, no, I can see him belting out Black Velvet. How you doing,
I'd like
Ryan?
to do
You
that
right?
myself.
Yeah, I'm alright, yo.
Has the hangover from Saturday gone yet?
He's taken off his headphones. He has no idea what you've just said.
No, I can hear you.
Has the hangover gone from Saturday yet?
Well, I wasn't even on that. I barely drank anything. But it was a good away day.
Was it Donny you went to?
Oh, what a shithole.
Drew suggests what's love got to do with it?
Yeah. That's good suggestion.
Also a decent film if you guys ever get any free time at the cinema. I went to see it yesterday. It's actually pretty decent.
Oh
no, it's all about Cocaine Bear at the minute. Need to go and see Cocaine
Oh yeah,
Bear.
true.
Why?
I've got
Why? It's getting really good reviews.
Terrible. It looks
It's getting really good
awful.
reviews.
So that doesn't mean it's good.
Well, people watch yours, so
Well, we also
Exactly.
get bad reviews.
oh god, do we? Oh no.
No, we're good. I don't think we've had that many bad reviews. We've had a couple in our time, but we've been here 3 years, so we're doing all right.
We are. aren't we?
What else do we have? Frank Sinatra's been suggested by Lions Rumble.
Fly me to the moon. Yeah, we could do that. It's kind of, you don't have to really be able to sing Sinatra. You can kind of just, you know what I mean? You don't have to have like a belting voice or anything like that. You don't have to have like a baritone voice or something to get it out. Just speak it.
I'm just trying to think what Sinatra song I could actually pull off. I mean, you can't do My Way. That's just too depressing. Yeah, that's Life or Fly Me to the Moon is probably the two that you could do. Brent in the chat saying hello to you. Rumble also says, as long as it's not Man, I Feel Like a Woman, which is in my top 5 most hated songs, I think, probably.
Oh, poor Shania, man, poor Shania. Hearing that won't impress her much.
Oh dear God.
It's begun.
I can't put the Mike McDaniel gif up in here. I'm just going to send it you through Discord anyhow.
Yay.
Mike the Marine is in the Twitch chat and says, my wife's mum and grandparents are from Bristol and Salisbury, England. Salisbury is my birthplace. Bristol is where I currently reside. So that's pretty cool. James A. McClaw says, ironic, but you guys make Monday one of my favourite days of the week. Thanks for all you do. I'm glad you suffer from the same illness of Lion's obsession disorder that I do. Or, can we call that LOD? Lion's obsession disorder?
Is it bad that when you've started off that like comment with ironic, I thought you were about to do Alanis Morissette? Is that bad? What do you think?
And actually, ironically, Alanis Morissette's best work for me is as God in the film Dogma, which is a film that very few people have now seen because it actually got banned from being released on DVD.
True that.
Don't know if any of you guys have actually ever watched it, but it's a terrific film. It's a Ben Affleck, Matt Damon film. And I get that people don't like them, but the premise of the film was really, really good. And Alanis Morissette is God. She doesn't speak, but she's incredible in it. Yeah. Also, just top girl. Anyway.
You know, I just can't get over that Marcus Whitman post about the Clemson defense. It's like, you in a bad take competition against him, you go lose.
Again, he is a Packers fan and a Rodgers defender. Like, I'm surprised you're shocked by it.
He's just like, Trenton Simpson is bad at football. Mate, he'd be linebacker 1 on your side, so be fucking grateful.
You do remember this is the guy you had the verbal war words with this time last offseason about Levi. So we've had prior with him as well.
Oh, did we?
Yep.
Oh, I must have forgotten about that. I don't know why. I don't know why we follow him. I didn't follow him, but that's kind of backfired, hasn't it? He's not played this year.
Yeah, but yeah. I follow him, but he's good for Madden stuff. He's good. Like, I actually enjoy watching his like Madden rebuilds and that. But as an NFL analyst, sometimes he can he can be a bit off.
I feel like he's doing that to say, right, these are all rubbish. Don't pick them, and then the Packers pick them. I feel like it's some bad attempt at trolling to try and devalue their draft capital so he can have them. Because they're not bad.
Exactly. If you saw earlier that day, he tweeted, "Stop comparing Miles Murphy to Rashawn Gary," and then someone from PFF literally replied with like 5 different clips, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like I still don't see it at the pop of his hands, and of course I don't really count the one ways unblocked," and I'm just like.
I mean, the thing is, if every analyst was great, then you couldn't stand out as someone who's better than the rest of them. So it's good to have people like that around. And if you were actually that influential, you'd be recognised as Mel fucking Kiper. So good luck with that. You know? We need people like that to stand out from us.
I feel like he's been really quiet this year, Mel Kiper. I don't feel like I've heard as much of him as I usually do. I'm waiting for Sims's QB rankings. That's always.
I think they've come out. Hang on.
If he hasn't got Anthony Richardson number 1 overall, I would be very surprised.
Oh, if he hasn't got Tanner McKee number 1, I'll be surprised. That's how he rolls.
I'm convinced that Richardson is going 1, by the way. Like, convinced.
Well, I mean, theoretically, if we painted an invisible ceiling for all these guys, his is probably the highest. So, highest ceiling, #1 pick. If it works, it works.
Ryan, you've got fans, and Brent asks, when's the next Ryan rant coming out?
Probably after all this combined bullshit.
Oh, there we go. He's in character and everything.
I love the combine, but it's also really pointless.
Oh, you could do one on QBs throwing good passes in thin air against no coverage and been made to be great. That's a big ass bugbear of mine. I'm just waiting to see. I'm just waiting to see this week. Oh look, leave this 60 yards. Screw it. He's not throwing against pressure, coverage, nothing. I don't care what he can do like then. Trey Lance looked like a world beater at the combine, and now look.
I do think you can just get that Zach Wilson throw that everyone fell in love with. Just play that over and over and over again.
I think the thing is that it does separate the people that have the arm strength and people that don't, because if you physically can't do that, then it does really show up the fact that you don't even attempt it. So, like, Mac Jones ain't going to do that. And it was pretty telling to me that he didn't try. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't prove you're a good quarterback, but it does say something about arm strength as to whether you can pull off the bootleg run to the left and running to the left while slinging it deep right. Like, it is a talented throw, regardless of the lack of pressure and defense. It does not prove anything about how good of a quarterback you are. That's the thing. You got to take from all of the combine stuff what you can out of it and ignore the bullshit. It's really useful for some things, like 3-cone drill. You could probably just do that, and that's one of the most telling things for like an edge player. Don't bother doing the 40. If you can do the 3-cone in 6.3. You're going first round, Like, don't care what else you can do. If you can turn the corner that quickly, you're going first round. So, in fact, that'd be an interesting experiment. Just do it off 3-cone drill at the extreme ends of it. If you're 7.3, you're not on the board. Anyway.
I don't think it matters.
Okay, fair enough. I am shivering like a motherfucker in here. It's cold, man.
Gone bitter these last few days, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah, and I'm outside, so... Oh, I've got it on...
In a kennel.
Yeah. Yep. Woof.
Yeah, and you're down south as well. We're up north. Up north. Colder up here.
Ash isn't up north.
No, I mean me and Ryan.
Yeah.
I know Ash is Midlands.
Sitting the fence as always.
Yeah, sitting the fence in between everybody.
Yep.
Mike the Marine says, combine question, hand measuring, thumb to pinky or base of palm to middle finger. It's thumb to pinky, and it's that, isn't it?
Yeah,
that way.
Yeah. Fun times. Brent DeWitt says, you like the underwear show. I mean, who doesn't like an underwear show? But,
I feel like there's no interest. I think it's Bryce's height, isn't it? That's the thing this year. But it's like last year, it was what's Kenny's hand size going to be? But I don't know what the size debate is this year, like the big one, outside of Bryce's height.
Yeah, it's Bryce's height and weight. And then, yeah, that's all the ones I can think of off the top of my head I've seen on Twitter today. Because obviously there was the whole thing about him doing a dirty bulk, and that's not why he's going to be running today. So you can get the weight this time, and then at this pro day, he has his usual playing weight and runs fast.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Ryan, what do you think of Zay? Zay looks buff, doesn't he? I think he looks more and more like he's got to be a first-round pick.
I think he's going to be a first-round pick, but I feel like that photo doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't look like he's gained like 13 pounds.
No.
It looked to me like he's drunk like 6 cartons of milk. He's probably going to go piss it all out.
I thought he looked more... I thought he'd shedded a little bit more fat and put on muscle, no? Did he not look more ripped?
He looked bigger. He looked bigger.
I thought he looked bloated.
Did he?
Yeah.
Jesus
never know.
Christ. Remind me not to strip off for our fucking combine when we get
He's
round.
gonna
God,
run,
yeah, exactly,
he's gonna run a stupid like 40 time though. He's that quick.
I'm not going to address this on the show, so Big Aries has just asked if there's any interest in a recently released Bobby McCain from the Washington Commanders. Got released 30 minutes ago. Any thoughts on Bobby McCain?
I couldn't tell you anything about him. So no.
The old Dolphin.
Former Dolphin, left them in 2020, joined the Commanders in 21. He has had more than 900 snaps in each of the last 3 years, average PFF grade of 65 in that time, topped out in 2021 with Washington with a grade of 70.9. He's a 5'9" safety with a 4.51 40-yard dash time.
He will he'll play the Will Harris role, but his floor is what Will Harris was last year with us, kind of thing. He will just be Will Harris 2.0, so we might as well just keep the guy who's been in the system a couple of years. The coach is like, seems to be a good guy kind of thing, rather than just bringing a new guy who's older and he's tailing off in his career and probably wants to get a bit more money.
All right, shall we get the show on the road?
Yep.
Take it. Is it yes? Okay, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast episode. You've deleted the episode number, you bastard. Why have you done that? And 181 from memory. Defense. We need the whole wall. My name's Matthew Turner alongside Ryan McCluskey, Ash Soden, and Anthony the Bastard Fitzpatrick. How you doing, boys?
It's in the top left-hand corner. If you even looked like your eyes, move them an inch to the top left and it's there.
Where?
Do you mean where?
I've got my cursor on the screen. It's not there. I'm highlighting it now. Where is it?
Top left, where I've just highlighted.
Can't see it. Anyway, how are you all?
Getting blamed for things I've not done, so hey-ho. That's not good, but...
It'll be better when we've traded Jalen Ramsey and signed Bobby Wagner. We've got the all-star supreme defense.
And T. Higgins, don't forget, T. Higgins.
Oh, and T. Higgins as well, yeah.
Be prepared to send over all your children as a down payment.
That's
It's silly season, isn't it? We're at that time now, and it's getting draining already, and we're still 2 months away from the draft. Let it end.
I could definitely be prepared from Lion King as our karaoke stuff. That would be very me. I'm here for it. Anyway, this show is going to be on the 2023 free agency class for the Detroit Lions on the defensive side of the ball. Bit of preamble to get through to start with. Don't forget our Discord channel. Got about 100 people now in there, and it's a burgeoning group of, really passionate Lions fans. Lots of good chat in there over the last few days, especially. It's become very lively, talking about all the potential people that could come in and go and draft stuff and mock drafts and whatever you like. I'll put in a link into the live chat in just a moment, and also I'll tweet it out at some point too. Do come and join us. We'd love to see you there. College Football Podcast, gents, on Friday. It's a big one. Come in, tell us all about it.
Yeah, we've got some guests coming on the show. The HBCU Legacy Bowl Week Combine has just concluded, so we're going to be doing a big show dedicated basically to HBCU football, sort of all about it itself. The draft classes last year, obviously, we got one of them here on the Lions, talking about the Legacy Bowl, and then the 2023 draft class. We've got two really good guests coming on for that. So if you want to find out about them, then please come and join. We've already put up on Twitter earlier, the Lions been interested in a few guys already, so some names you might need to know about going forward.
And if you've got any questions for the guys on there as well, you can submit them via our Discord channel or via the contact details below on the YouTube stream. Don't forget to like this episode and sub to the show and review and subscribe and all that good stuff. It helps us out. And LionsNationUnite.com, we're there too. Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. We're a Twitch affiliate, which means that if you have a Prime subscription to Amazon, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription. Gives us about $2.50 if you can throw that our way, and it doesn't cost you us sent. We also have a feedback form below in the YouTube chat if you want to tell us anything at all about the show, about what we can improve on, or something that you like about the show. Please do click on the link there, and just below that is a tip jar if you are so inclined. And we're getting ever closer to those 900 subs and the giveaway. One lucky winner at 900 subs will win a choice of a Lem Barney signed mini helmet, a Barry Sanders graded card, or a Calvin Johnson rookie autograph courtesy of our own Ryan McCluskey. You need to be subbed to the show, and there will be additional entry requirements once we get over the 900 subs so that I can actually start the draw. So do sub so we can get over that, and then when we get to 1,000, that's when the fun really begins. So get us on the way and the run to 1,000 subs. Right, let's get on with a little bit of news. The first one is a Lions signing, the cornerback Mac McCain. He is out of North Carolina A&T, and that is Holmes' alma mater, isn't it? Yeah, thank you very much.
Correct.
6'1", 185 cornerback. Yes, undrafted in 2021. Spent some time with the Broncos and the Eagles. Thoughts, lads?
Going to be a lot of corners, I think, coming in. It's a positional group that's going to get a complete and utter revamp over the summer. So I think you will expect a lot of these guys coming in, camp bodies, guys looking for a spot on a roster, because most of the cornerback slots are open for next season. So I'm not surprised. It'd be from a system, Holmes is familiar with it. There are good guys coming out of the HBCU. So who knows? Give him a go. See what he can do. If he doesn't, let him go. You'll see a lot more of these, especially with corners.
Special teams. That's why he's mostly played, and I think that's why he's been brought in for. He's a Bobby Price. He might be and I hate to bring up the name because he is a beloved of the pod, but Bobby Price, he's probably a Bobby Price replacement because Price is out of contract. So bring in the next guy who can be a starting gunner for you and has some defense upside, maybe.
There. And the first domino has fallen, the most inevitable one. Brockers has been cut, saving cap of $10 million. Ryan, I mean, this was the one, really, the only one I think that was a no-brainer, wasn't it? All of the others at least have a little bit of pushback one way or the other.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye, Brockers, you big old waste of money. Fraud. You're stealing from us. Offers fuck all on the sideline. I don't believe for a minute he was a leader. And anyone thinks he should be the D-line coach. Like, go run a bath and dunk your head in it, and just then tell me after the cold waters hit you if you really think you should be D-line coach. Nah, get out of here.
The way you just said that reminded me of Riz on the Detroit Lions podcast, who said if you don't agree with this take, or if you think this thing about the Lions, then please go and bite on an electric fence. It just reminded me of what you just said there, but there we go. I can't remember what that was in relation to. But
it was about trading for Rams, and it wasn't biting on an electric fence. It was having a whiz on an electric fence.
Anyway, Brockers boys departing.
Good. I'm with Ryan. This whole narrative that's spun after, he's been a great locker room leader, he's been wonderful for this team. We've also paid him millions and millions and millions of dollars to do absolutely nothing. And it's been bad money spent. I mean, it's not going to cost us too much in the future. We save a lot of money going forward. And yeah, he might have been great in the locker room and that, but for what we've spent on him, it's been a bad move. And I just don't. It's the same with Amani. I don't like how they lost their positions and then really didn't fight to get them back in rooms where he could have been used. Two guys have just come in from nowhere in Benito Jones and Bugs and have played better. It's like you should be able to get in that room. You should be able to make a contribution. I don't care what you've done in the locker room. It's not worth all the money we've spent on you. So bye. One of the last bad contracts gone. We're in such a nice situation now from the Bob Quinn years where we've got so few bad contracts on the book now. That was one of the last ones, and slowly the damage is getting repaired.
Completely agree. I did some quick mental math in my head. We paid him roughly $80,000 per snap this year, which is a hell of a lot. Hell of a lot. He was about 125 snaps and about $8 million. That's yeah, and I don't buy the locker room now. Well, I can't partly buy it, at least in the first year, because obviously he was coming into, he was there to sort of tell the D line, this is how the system works. But last year when we changed systems, yeah, just became useless, just sitting there. So I don't buy the assist. He might be an assistant D line coach, but yeah, we're not putting him straight in at D line. We're too close to success to risk it all on that move.
All right, let's get into the meat of this one. We're talking about the defense and the special teams side of things. We're going to have a look at who is currently leaving us, who that leaves us with, the holes therefore, and then the available people in free agency at those positions. So let's start with the interior of the defensive line, the defensive tackles. And we have, as of today, Michael Brockers, Levi. Oh, hellos. No. Well, let's not read the current roster, and we can delete Michael Brockers from the current roster. There we go. That makes more sense. Let's start with Michael Brockers, Isaiah Buggs, and Benito Jones at defensive tackle. Benito Jones is an ERFA. You can expect him to return at the league minimum at the very least to see whether he can get his place. Buggs was paid $965,000 last year, and Brockers accounts for $8 million. That leaves us in defensive tackles with Levi Onwuzurike, Aleem McNeil, and Demetrius Taylor, with McNeil the obvious starter and no one else from that room for me, boys, as an obvious starter. Any thoughts about Buggs and Jones? Any qualms with bringing them both back as it stands, at least just to see if they can compete?
Of course, you bring them both back. Both played really well last year. Both have earned new deals. Give them both new deals. Because this is not some very talented DT class where you're going to get another starter out of it right away unless Jalen Carter falls to us. Outside of that, you're going to need bodies. You're going to need guys this year to share the load out. So they've both earned a deal. Bring them both back.
Yep, both very affordable. And I've had a look at some of the free agents, like guys like Draymond Jones and that. They're going to get big with dollar, the interior defensive tackles, and we can't be shoving now. Give Buggs $2-3 million. He's earned it. That's fair.
All right, so let's have a look. I'm not going to do it differently to how I did it last time, because we did all of the people going, then the entire current roster, then the people that can fill those needs. Instead, we've gone through the defensive tackles in terms of who's going and how that's left us. So now let's have a look at that list that Ryan's just referenced. Notable names on here: Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Dalman Tomlinson, Ashawn Robinson, Akeem Hicks, Sheldon Rankins, Daron Payne, as it stands, Jerry Tillery, and Dominican Sue, amongst many others. Does anyone stand out from the list that could be available for Detroit?
No.
There's a clear need at either the nose or three, right?
There's a lot of old has-beens in there who will rinse us for money like Brockers did. And the younger ones probably will not hit free agency. So I think there's a clear lack of people there this year. You know, I'm not giving Hicks that there. You know, Dalvin Tomlinson's slowly been getting worse. Ashawn, we've tried that before. You know, I'm not enamored by any of them.
There's other people on that list as well. It's not just limited to that, like Linval Joseph, David Onyemata, John Jenkins. There's always Nick Williams.
Don't even say that in
Yeah,
jest.
I know. He was a painful git. Mike Hoyt, who had a very good year with the Rams, actually, he might be worth considering.
I was going to say, if Onyemata makes a lot of sense considering the New Orleans connections, but someone I might be willing to take another shot on, and because I remember when he was coming out in the draft class and he had the unfortunate medical things that made him fall, but he definitely has upside to play well again on the D line, is Maurice Hurst. Obviously, was drafted by the Raiders and then he's gone to San Francisco and was a bit part player there and on their D line. He might be a good cheap addition just to give us more bodies, at least in camp, and then let him fight out, see if he can take one of like the backup spots or even get himself a good rotational role.
All right, let's move on to the next positional group, and this is the defensive ends. We have John Kaminsky, paid $752,000 last year, and Austin Bryant leaving us, $812,000 for him. Leaves us with the group Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, Josh Pascal, and Romeo Aquara. And because of the lack of starter on the interior, I've got Hutchinson, Pascal, and Aquara nominally as starters right now. But I know, and I said it in the pre-show, there's a feeling that one of those starters may not belong for the roster, or Charles Harris. But Harris and Aquara are definitely in a battle to even stick here, I think.
Did Houston die?
And Houston. I listed him as an outside linebacker.
I'd bring him and Julian into the edge consideration but to be fair, Houston definitely is going to stick around. I actually say Aquara, but I think it's both Aquaras are on their way out, unfortunately.
I'm going to placate both of you and put both Aquaras and James Houston in the DE room. So there we go. You happy?
The Aquaras are going the way of the dodo in Detroit, unfortunately, but that is the way it is.
Austin Bryant's had his chance. Deshaun Hand 2.0, just a waste of space at this point.
And he didn't even really play as well as Hand did in spurts. That's a very easy selection. Commish, of course, comes back. You need Commish back. And Bryant has not earned a spot back here, so it all depends. And I don't think Commish is going to demand mega bucks either. I feel like Commish might get another year, a better deal. And then if he has another year like this, that's when he'll really get paid. So you feel like it'll work well for us and for him to do another year.
So when it comes to defensive ends, let's say that both Aquaras are gone. We go in with Hutch, Harris, Pascal, and Houston as it stands. Now, obviously, we're talking about defensive tackle. We want to bring someone in, maybe not in free agency, then maybe we have to look to the draft. But as it stands, Pascal starting in the interior. Do we need to bring someone in the edge room, at least as a camp body, to compete? Or are you looking for someone a bit higher up? I don't even have it listed as a need at the moment, but is there any pushback on that?
It's the team itself doesn't believe it's a need. If you believe what Riz has tweeted out from the combine today, that he doesn't believe that the team will look at edge in the draft until the start of day 3 at the earliest, because it's supposedly the lowest position of priority in terms of bringing in new capital in the draft, because we've spent so much on it recently with Hutch, with Pascal. So if it's going to be bringing someone, it's going to be someone in free agency, and it's going to be someone that's going to be edge 4-5 in a rotation, rather than someone that's going to be a big splashy name for me, because it will be Pascal, Commish with bringing back, Hutchinson as like the main 3, with Houston doing his Sam role, and then Harris either chilling and being the backup to the rush end, or him going as well for cap reasons.
The trouble, you invested so much capital in the draft in edge. You don't want to funnel those guys out of a system. You want to give them time to develop. You've invested in them. So, like Ash says, it's probably going to be depth guys. I mean, even if you bring in like a vet or something, like a Carlos Dunlap or someone like that, just to help out and be a rotational guy as and when is needed. I think that will be the sort of thing you're more likely to see in free agency there. Just a vet to come in and help. And take a few snaps if they need to. I mean, I think the only one I'd really consider if I was going to bring another guy in, I think, isn't Arden Key back on the market?
Yeah,
I'd bring Arden Key in if he was available at a good amount of money, and then you've got Key, Houston, Hutch, Pascal. You've got really good rotation there with many guys in, but I think outside of him, it would be vet only and older guy just to come in and help out a little bit on an inoffensive contract.
I'm just trying to load what SpotRack think his market value is, because they have a market value for it, but it's not loading for me. Here we go. They think Arden Key will make 11.3 million average per year next year. We'll see. I mean, we both know that SpotRack is not exactly perfect when it comes to comparative contracts. I think that if both Aquaras go, I think there will be room for someone to be edge 5 who's been around the league a little, who's on basically vet min, to provide someone like you were saying, and to have some snaps. But I think you can't pay him really more than like 1.5 million, maybe even less than that. And I'm looking at a couple of different names.
I think I know what the names you're looking at. I've just seen who's hitting the market this year.
Kerry Hyder?
No, even more beloved to your heart.
Let's not do that.
I mean, so Kerry had a great Lions career, got injured, and then got binned off, and had an even better career in San Francisco. Like, what's wrong with bringing him home?
This is the new Lions, not the living in the past Lions.
Returning players have never done well. Who are you going to say, Ash?
Trey Flowers, he's hitting the market,
Oh,
but then
don't
scoring.
even! You bastard.
Being realistic, there is someone who is a former second-round pick from the Cardinals who has athletic upside and is hitting the market after finishing his rookie contract, who I'd be willing to take a chance on, in Zach Allen.
I can see the look of regret now, Matt saying Ash can come on the show. He just got burnt big time. That was classic, Ash.
Thank you.
I'm gonna keep that image in my head for the rest of the day. Just Matt, like the betrayal.
Other names I have in consideration.
If he was on a vet min, if he was on like completely vet min,
yeah,
like the littlest amount of money you could give him, then as you know, he by all accounts was a locker room presence. No.
Oh God, get out of here. So other names I think could be. I mean, if we want to compete for the North, I think that we shouldn't look past vets who, on a limited snap basis, have been there and done it at a very high level, and on a rotational basis can come in and provide something. So I'm looking at people like Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Lawson, other people like that who can come in. They were previously played less than $1.2 million last year. Like, if we can get them on 1 million, 1.1 million, 1.2, what's the harm in that? I mean, on a limited basis, them come in and make some really game-changing plays on 3rd and long when it really matters. I mean, anyone against trying something like that?
Who was the other Raiders one that's not Max Crosby? Is it Nassib? Isn't he hitting free agency? Isn't he?
He is hitting free agency. Yeah, he's.
I mean, someone like him, who's like, I don't think he earns much more than vet me. Obviously, he's playing across Crosby, so he gets lost in it. But someone like him, maybe.
He was in Tampa this past season. Give me a sec. He was on a 1-year, $1.2 million contract in Tampa.
He got something like that. I thought from what I remember him being decent. Someone like that and I think he's only about 28, so you get someone who's a bit younger, paying a little less money.
Well, he's about to hit 30.
I was about to hit 30.
Yeah.
Well, comes under vet.
Give me a sec.
Just putting in a question from Dan Pask about the secondary. Just got to make sure to get that in. Royalty. Anyway.
In 13 games, he had 3.5 sacks, 23 combined tackles, 6 TFLs. Carl Nassib this past season. So yeah, he could be a decent rotational piece.
Harry Ball just asked, is there any young guy in free agency that has been a backup or in rotation like Jamal was, but at any positions of need? We'll try and find someone like that, but I mean, if it was that easy, every team would be trying to snap them up, so it's just never that simple, unfortunately. Perry Ball says, why are we letting Romeo go? If we gave Brockers all this time for doing nothing, why can't we give Romeo a chance to come back to form? He's a team player and he brings leadership. I think you're absolutely right in terms of the comparison not being fair. The problem is we didn't have strength in depth at defensive tackle, which afforded Brockers time. And the problem for Romeo is we're loaded at edge, and you can save quite a bit of his contract if he goes. He's a victim of circumstance more than anything. If we were light at edge, there's no chance in hell he'd be close to the block. But because of where we are in terms of, not an embarrassment of riches, but we've just invested there, and you know, we want to give Houston more snaps, and Harris is in the same boat as Acquire, but frankly he's cheaper and you save less for cutting him, and Hutchinson and Pascal are hopefully going to get plenty of snaps too. So,
and we need money,
and we need the money.
Yeah,
I think it's all down to the money. If he was on a cheaper deal, I think they keep him and Harris, but as you said, they're both on the last year of their deals, so they're both gone in 12 months anyhow. So, you know, I think this decision is coming because even say he has a half decent season, if Hutch carries on being Hutch, if Pascal has a full healthy season, plays really well, and Houston develops into a 3-down edge, you're just going to cut Romeo in a year anyhow. You're not going to give him a new deal. You're going to let him walk. So, you know, I don't think there's anything long term you're affecting by letting him go at this point. And to be fair, I mean, he didn't look great when he came back. I mean,
The first game
I
back
don't know,
he
he
had was good, and he got a
yeah.
sack or two, and then he tailed off big time.
Yeah, and you look at someone like Jerry who came in and played really well after a similar serious injury and actually played well, and it's like, well, you can't blame it all on the injury. So, and Harris is a scheme fit for us. I mean, Aguara's not really played that much since we paid him, whereas Harris is integrated into our system and plays it better because Aguara just hasn't played it. So, from a point of view of who's most familiar with scheme and is better for your fit, it's Harris over Romeo, and that's just unfortunate because of his injury. But $7.5 million is not to sniff at. We need that money for other things.
Exactly. To go a bit further into the scheme bit, Harris is at worst back up to Hutch at the rush end. Aquara could feasibly be a big N3 behind Pascal and Kamish, you probably all agreed we're bringing back for cheap. So is it worth paying someone 7-8 mil, 7-8-9 mil to be at edge 5? So that's the problem with Aquara. It's this victim of circumstance with the injury where now, because in his absence, we've got two guys who have played reasonably well in his role and are cheaper and younger than him. So it's just all those combined just unfortunately got him out the door, and probably his brother's going the same way because obviously they're connected. That's why Romeo signed the length of contract he did. So he was out of contract at the same time as Julian is. I think they're going to be a package deal, and they're both gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only guy with a Romeo Aquara jersey in the world, and even I'm on this train, so come on. All right, shall we move it on to the next position group? We're going on to inside linebackers. So Alex Anzalone, the only one leaving us, he was paid $2.25 million last year. The only inside linebacker on the roster currently, I believe. But I have got this wrong a few times.
I think Woods is both Woods and Board are unrestricted free agents, and Pittman's an ER for FA again this season.
Yeah, I've got them down as special teamers as opposed to linebackers.
Sorry.
That's no. That's a fair point. In an ideal world, none of those guys see the field on defense, so I've kind of just ignored them.
True.
But yeah, no, it's a fair point. The only guy I have listed as an inside linebacker is Malcolm Rodriguez because I've put Derek Barnes at outside because I can't see Derek ever taking the mic. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I would presume that we all think that there's a need for an inside linebacker, at least to go behind Malcolm, if not to start in front of him and give Malcolm time to develop as a rook. What do we think?
Like a hole in the head, we need one.
One or two?
I think you probably draft one and free agency another.
Okay.
I feel there'd be investment in it this time because you kind of have to. And if Riz in his list of bombshells today is out to believe, he says Anzalone's not coming back. So, we're going to need someone else.
I'm going to lump in outside linebackers into this chat as well because, quite frankly, sometimes I get confused when I'm looking at free agency very quickly with a number of names out there to distinguish between the two. So, outside linebackers, none outgoing because we've chucked them all into the defensive ends. Outside linebacker on the roster, the only one I have is Derek Barnes. And so, linebackers available either inside or out. Dion Jones, Levante David, Devin Bush, Anthony Walker, Tremaine Edmonds, Denzel Perryman, TJ Edwards, Anthony Barr, Quan Alexander. Any of those stand out? And I'm going to research some others while you chat about any of them. But anyone think any of them are any worth it at their sort of average value?
TJ Edwards, maybe. Tremaine Edmonds, he's like projected contracts way too high. And he's supposed to be making like $14-15 million a year, something stupid.
So Tremaine Edmonds per spot rack has an average annual salary of 11, but PFF NFL podcasts think he'll make 18.
Oof, no.
What's Devin Bush projected to make?
Devin Bush is projected to make $3 million average per spot
hell,
track.
I'd take that.
It's a 1 year, $3 million prove it deal. Inside linebacker rank 30th. So yeah, I'd do that as well.
Better than taking Quan Alexander last year, but I don't know how he played this year. Was he healthy?
Devin Bush.
I'd take Devin Bush in a heartbeat and give him a deal like that. because you can only win from that, especially if it's a 1-year deal. You can kind of only win there.
I mean, I think his problem is that he's paid like pants.
Bush on his rookie deal.
Yeah, his last year rookie deal, he played 62% of defensive snaps and got, let's have a look.
PFF 58.8 last year.
Yeah, 81 combined, 44 solo, 2 TFLs, 2 QB hits, and 2 pass defended in this past season. So yeah, he's more of an athletic flyer, I think. He's definitely got the body and the athleticism to be a good inside linebacker. It's just, can the switch click on for him?
Well, if you're not going to
4 picks and add Simon for agency, because if I'm perfectly honest, I think Derek Barnes is a total whiff. I've not seen anything from him. He's never going to be a starter. I'm just not buying it. Way too inconsistent.
At this point, you do have to question whether he can make the leap. He did improve from year 1 to year 2, but not enough to give me confidence. Other names that are on this list that you could consider. I mean,
isn't this the time of the year we say Leighton's name? We say Leighton's name every year.
Yeah, and I mean, he played much better this year. I mean, much better.
And he strikes me as being a 100% Dan Campbell guy. Like that sort of edgy, gritty leader type. I don't know what they'd pay him, but if we were just talking ideal signings here, I'd sign Van Der Esch in an instant.
He got paid $2 million last year, but at that point it was thought his career was basically done. So, and also because of his injury and the nature of it, it kind of caps what contracts you can ask for, because no team out there worth their salt's going to give him any money, really, because it's always going to be your career could be over at any point,
Oh, I'd try and tempt him away with a 2-year, a small 2-year deal, maybe add a bit more money in there than Dallas are prepared to give him. And something that it's not going to break the bank. And if he plays as he has been, you probably won't get good value out of it. So if you can outbid them and do it in a way that's good for you, then I think there's the possibility there to do so. I mean, if you're not going to splash out on a linebacker in the draft, which it looks like they're just never going to do, and they're not going to spend like big bucks on there, you've got to go for some of these guys who are a bit of a risk. Like I say, Devin Bush is a risk, but if you ain't going to spend big on them, you could hit big on him and not pay him much money. You got to do it that way. You got to go for the boom or bust guys. That's the only other way you can really do it.
The name I've got is Drew Tranquil from the Chargers. He's projected 1 year, $4 million by Spot Track, and he'll offer something that's a bit different in terms of body size to what we have with Malcolm. At the inside, he's a bit of more of a big, bulky run stuffing guy. But if I remember rightly, he has graded okay in coverage enough for it to be worth a risk.
There's a couple of other people that might be of interest. Someone just asked about whether there's any Saints free agents that might be of interest because of the connection there. Caden Ellis.
There could be cap cuts from there.
Yeah, so 5.1 million he's expected to get. From the Colts, Bobby Okereke, 2.3 million he's expected to get.
Could be worth a shot.
We could get that waste of space who badmouthed Jamal.
Yeah, just get him specifically camped to get Jamal fired up for game 1 of the season.
Yeah, just like Jamal hit him all summer and then release
After the Super Bowl, everyone was on about Jermaine Pratt because of how good he is in coverage. But I reckon he's probably going to want some decent money.
Pratt, he's also the guy that this turned me off from him. Remember at the end of the AFC Championship game, he was the guy who was swearing at the guy who made the hit out of bounds. That as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, he's not coming here, because I don't think Dan Campbell will stand for that from one of your players to basically badmouth someone directly to the media and in front of their face as well. Just not us Lions thing. It might have been a previous Lions regime thing, but not the new Lions now.
Okay, 2 more names for you, and then we'll finish this off. First one is Alex Singleton, Denver. 1.1 million last year, 29 years old, but always played lots of snaps and been fairly reliable for me. The last one, Dan Pask had to ask it. We joked about it at the top of the show. Any interest at all at some price in Bobby Wagner?
If it's low enough, yes, but it won't be low enough PFF's #1 linebacker last year, and he wants to ring chase. He's going. I could see him going to Buffalo to replace Jermaine Edmonds if they don't re-sign him, because they're gonna be continual challengers, and that's what he wants. He wants to get as many rings as possible now. So-
Well, I don't, with the amount they're paying Von Miller to be injured, I don't know. I don't know whether they'll be able to afford him.
Sorry,
in all
Von.
honesty. Yeah, I mean that's the last ring chaser they got from LA. They spent picks on him and money. It's like, oh no, they spent money on him, a lot of money. So I don't know if they would here. I would only sanction it here if the Lions go out and get a really good linebacker in the draft and draft someone high so that he can mentor them going forward. He can be a player here and he can be a mentor as well. I'm not kind of bringing him here into. I know he can mentor Malcolm as well, but. I'd only pay him the sort of money he'd want if my linebacker room was loaded with young talent who could learn off him whilst he was here and make it worth the investment in the long run. Outside of that, I'm not having like with Chris Board's back and all these jobbers who play on special teams who are no good. I'm not signing him for that.
Come down to cost. If he gives me a low enough 1-year deal, do you know what? Fuck it, bring him in.
I think there's only one way in which bringing him in makes sense. And it's this. Lions go all in and say, you know what, we made enough progress last year that we think our offense is just about there, that we need to splash out big time on defense and say, we are in a window and we are announcing ourselves. And if you do it, you need to announce not just him, but all of the other ones that you guys were joking about at the top of the show. So in comes Wagner, in comes Ramsey, in comes these guys that you put on 3-year contracts, massively backloaded, and you fill up to the brim with talent year one. Because if you're going to get one of these guys and overpay to do it, you've wasted their time and ours. Because you know what? We ain't competing for the Super Bowl next year. I just don't think so. Like, as much as I joke about the fact we might have a chance, we're in the top 10 in betting, and we're in top 4 in NFC, but, realistically, are we going to do it? But if we went all in, like at least we could say there was a plan. It feels like if you just bring in Bobby Wagner, there's no plan there. At least go all in or don't.
It's the same issue I have with Ramsey. I'm not denying he's not a very good player and would instantly be the best player on this team. But you're giving up 2 really good players out the draft, because those will be the picks you're giving up, and then you're giving him an extended deal with more money. And it's likely going to be backloaded. So you're going to have to deal with that further down the line when you wanted to compete. Like you said, you want to backload deals at the start of your push, not when your push is just about to approach, because then you screw yourself cap-wise for the future. So I'm not inclined to do that right now, whilst we're still a year or 2 away. There's no reason we can't win the NFC North, but the NFC North is rubbish at the moment. There's a big difference between winning that and the Super Bowl. So you can't go all in on stuff like this yet and trade valuable picks and tons of money, and it's just the same with Wagner. You can't give him loads of money, like say for the years you're not going to get, which is why I only take him if there's lots of young guys here who he can train and make it viable in the longer run. Outside of that, I agree. It's pointless.
All right, let's move on to our next position group. And we are now at the cornerback position. Leaving us as it stands is Mike Hughes, paid $2.25 million. Will Harris paid $931,000. And Amani Oruwariye, $710,000. That leaves us with the room Jeff Okudah, Jerry Jacobs, and Chase Lucas projected starters in a nickel package. And Khalil Dorsey, Jaron Williams, and then the recently signed Mac McCain as your cornerbacks on the roster. How are we feeling about that group? And is there anyone that you'd like to re-sign out of those 3?
Total dumpster fire, that group. What a crock of shit left behind, if we're being honest. This position has been neglected for far too long. And we've reaped what we've sowed. We've left behind a load of just bang average guys. Like I say, we need to invest heavily. Like I say, we need at least 2 corners in the first 4 draft picks. Free agents without looking, guys like, I think we can get maybe Patrick Peterson for like a cheap year. I don't think he's a bad option. I know he's sketchy, but I feel like he would be a decent 1 year stopgap. Something like that. I don't really mind. But yeah. See, Jalen Ramsey, like, the asking price is going to start at first. I won't give him that. Can I give him a second and a third? Would they take that? Probably not. But if they would agree to it, I'd do it. But no, the price is going to start at 1 and I'll walk over. But then you've got more expensive free agents. Like, say, you've got Sean Murphy Bunting, could be able to do nickel corner. You've got Jamel Dean, that's a decent outside corner. But these are guys that will want really good, decent money. So we've got to overhaul. We need to draft at least 2 and sign a free agent, I think. We need some prominent names coming in.
Who's your cornerback 1 at the moment on the roster?
Jerry Jacobs. And that pains me to say it because he shouldn't be a cornerback 1 in the NFL.
It's the easiest set of 3 decisions there, I guess, unless Hughes is going to be corner depth and you're going to get him. I mean, what was it? $2.25 million he had last year. So if you can reduce that a little bit more and bring him back as like real depth, then maybe. But outside of that, the lot of them can go. They've done nothing to warrant staying here, and we need to start moving on from this. Amani was just a disgrace last year, and it was such a shame. We were talking about him getting paid probably $10 million a year, something like that, maybe more if he had a season like he had before. Now he's going to be lucky to skimp vet min somewhere or a few million from a flyer team who think they can rehab him. So no, if Hughes can't be done cheap, then as Ryan says, let's just reset the group again. We'll start from scratch. Just admit it was a bad job. It was a bad job. Start it again. Move over. Get new guys in. Give new people opportunities. And revamp that corner and start the secondary.
I actually think Armani will be fine. I reckon at least 20 teams in the league are going to clamour to sign him as a reclamation project. Just because he's young, he's big, he's got physical tools, they'll think they can fix him. But yeah, I can't keep him. I think he'll still get a decent deal, amazingly. But yeah, not here.
Ash, list of available free agents I picked out. Marcus Peters, James Bradbury, Jonathan Jones, Emmanuel Mosley, Troy Hill, Patrick Peterson, Byron Murphy, Rock Ya-Sin, and Greedy Williams. Any of them stand out to you, or any others that you've picked out?
So, I mentioned Jonathan Jones in my article that I did this weekend on the nickel, which has inspired both mine and Ant's name choices, I believe. So he would be a good sort of Mike Hughes in a way, because he's played mostly inside, but last year he moved outside. So if we can't get Mike Hughes back because he wants to go somewhere else, he'd be a good replacement for him, in my opinion. Greedy Williams as well. Dorsey in our front office obviously drafted him with Cleveland, has athletic upside, but has some injury problems. He could be a good flyer to look out for outside corner, but obviously the big name free agent that I think we should be linked with, and it's someone I mentioned in the article as well, is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, to be, if we're not bringing back Will Harris, because obviously I believe we should, just to be a stopgap because he's got that floor for us at the nickel. He could be that big flashy signing at the cornerback position to reset it, because he knows Aaron Glenn. He's played in the Super Bowl just with the Eagles. He's one of the best nickel safety hybrids in the league because of Glenn molding him into that. And then that allows just then to focus on revamping the outside corner room, get Jerry to where he should be as either a cornerback 2 or the first cornerback off the bench on the outside. And it will get and then you can just focus on just letting Okuda fight out one last year, see if he can get himself an extension, get Jerry on where he's supposed to be, and we can have a true outside corner 1, which is what we desperately need at this point.
Mike the Marine has suggested Dean on a 3 to 4 year deal and PJ Williams from the Saints as well. Any thoughts on either of those?
I like Dean, yeah, he's been all right in Tampa Bay.
$16.5 million is expected per year for him.
If you want to go corner, we're going to have to pay. This is the position we're going to have to save our money for. Are the Eagles going to let Gardner-Johnson walk, or is he a prime tag candidate? You feel like he's going to get tagged.
They're up against it for tag, though.
They gave up draft picks for him, though. I know there were only 2 late ones, but generally when you do that and you have guys on, I know the Rams did it with Von Miller, but they won a Super Bowl out of it. Eagles didn't. I don't think you give up so easily on those picks and the money you've put up into him. So I don't feel like he goes there. I think you draft both. I think you draft 2 starters this summer, and you start rebuilding the position from scratch.
Yeah.
I think that just has to be the way here. You've got good picks. You are in an insanely talented corner class. And the best part is you're in an insanely talented corner class that has guys who fit the scheme that Aaron Glenn wants, which he's not really had before. So take advantage of that. And then just keep going after younger guys who who could potentially add something to you. I mean, the one I saw, and I didn't know what had happened to him this year, but Thomas Graham was the guy that the Bears drafted last year. He had a really decent season for them as a 6th-round pick. He went to Cleveland this year, but I would absolutely take him as a camp body and put him in, see what he can do, because he did not look out of place for a bad pick. I don't know what's gone on with Cleveland this year, but given Cleveland and their history of not developing players very well, I would still bet on him being able to do something. So I'd bring him and give him a go, and I'd try with other similar corners, get some more younger ones in, force some competition again, see what you can do. There's just the top tier ones are a bit too out of price range, I feel. So just go and get your guys of the future this time round. Short-term pain for long-term gain at the corner position.
On the CGJ debate, the Eagles have $6.3 million of cap space, and their only available moves to create cap space are restructures for Darius Slay for $12.2 million and Lane Johnson for $10.5 million. Other than that, there are no good moves for them, and they need to sign their free agent class, for which they have 2 high first-round picks to pay. I don't think they have the room to re-sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, especially on the tag, where, I mean, I guess he goes in as a safety for the tag, but that's still going to be 12 million or something, 13 million. That's more than they can afford.
I think I saw Jesse Bates was looking at like 15. If he goes in like a free safety, I think he's getting nearly 16 million on the franchise tag. I think it's inflated this year. Yeah, if he's going to leave, but even if he leaves, like I say, convincing him to come here, that could be a hard sell.
I disagree with us having Glenn, because you got to remember Glenn was the guy who picked him out. He was like a 5th-round pick in New Orleans. Glenn picked him specifically and turned him into what he is now. So us having him here and us be able to say, we're going to give you the bag, you're going to be a starter here no matter what, and we're building this secondary around you. What else could he ask for other than, okay, yeah, are you going to get me a Super Bowl ring? I think we have an easy sell here with the culture and with who we've got a coach.
But Glenn won't be here next year.
The Eagles.
I mean, it's a stopgap, but the extension I thought was weird anyway. Like I said, whether he's good or he's bad, he's gone in a year. So I think he's going to have to try selling the fact, like you say, well, we're going all in this year.
God, the Eagles have got 50 million in dead cap next year. Yikes.
Yeah, because they restructured all of their defensive tackle guys. They brought back Fletcher Cox despite all the dead cap last year and put him on a deal with void years to get him under the cap. Same with Hargrave. They've done lots of maneuvering to have a Super Bowl caliber roster in the most recent season just gone. The fact that both their starting defensive tackles have gone, as well as the guy they traded for in the star role, and that I don't think they can re-sign, means that roster, despite being at the top of the NFC or near or thereabouts, is significantly worse next year. And the Eagles should not get back to the NFC Championship game without a bit of magic.
Oh, I don't know. You've got the trenches to get back there. You do. And you've got 2 high draft picks this year, so you probably might put some more into that. I don't think it'll be that big a drop-off for them, but it's...
Is there a scenario where anyone would take Jalen Ramsey? Any scenario?
If the Rams asking price dropped considerably, because they're doing it as a salary dump. So why should they get paid for doing a salary dump like that? It's
the thing is, cutting him is worse for them than trading, so they have no incentive to drop the price, because then they'll just keep him. They need to dump him, but he's such a talent.
I think you just let him sweat. I think they'll get to a point where it's just going to be like, we've got to get rid of him, and we need something for him so that we can continue to have a cap and that you will be able to call their bluff a little bit. So
he wants to go as well, doesn't it? His guaranteed money's ended, hasn't it? the last 2 years don't have any guaranteed money there, so he needs something. So you feel like the relationship now is pretty untenable. Either way, he's going to go.
Unless they rework the deal. I think that's the only way they can do it is rework it and backload it again. But whether they will or not.
Ash, tell me your news is NFL related and not football related, please.
It's the football related one,
Oh.
the NFL one, the NFL one, the NFL football.
Okay, go on then.
Talking of dumping someone, the Commanders have literally just released Carson Wentz.
Yeah, most obvious move ever.
We knew it was going to happen, but yeah.
Maybe.
The guy is such a locker room problem that if he actually gets signed by anyone, they're fools.
Yep.
He'll be playing in the XFL next season.
No, so I'm certain someone's going to pick him up. Certain.
He's a backup.
It'll be whoever loses out on the sort of Jimmy G, Carr, Tannehill, draft QB sort of carousel that's going to happen.
Oh, don't tell me he could go to San Francisco.
He'll
Actually,
end up
that
in like
just...
Tampa Bay battling like
He
Kyle
could.
Trask or something.
San Francisco makes too much sense, actually, to me.
Him and Lance both came from the same college.
The thing is, he's probably better than Lance right now, even though he's
Yeah.
rubbish. But also, their system doesn't really require a mobile quarterback. It just needs an accurate one. And actually, at times, he has been okay in that regard. So, anyway.
Well, you could argue that they do need a better quarterback there because that's ultimately what screwed them this year is not having a quarterback. But even then, Purdy was okay, but I don't know. He's had too many chances. You know, he's had way too many chances. He's screwed it up everywhere he's gone. He's not gotten any better. It's at this point, it's like fool me twice, shame on me type territory. So, you know, only someone stupid would do that. So which team is... If the Raiders still had their guy, I'd say they'd get rid of Carr and then bring in Wentz or something stupid like that. But unfortunately, they don't have...
No, that sounds
Team
like a plan.
Team stupid recruit QB sounds like the Panthers to me.
Yeah, good shout.
How about the new Lions backup on millions of dollars?
Hang on, Frank Reich brought him in as a Colt, right? So that makes sense.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah, let's play a fun game of what's Brock Purdy worth in a trade? Not for us, just in general. I'm interested if they said we're committing to Trey Lance, we spent all this capital on you, we're going with you, but we want to get some draft capital for 2023, so we're putting Purdy on the block. What is he worth in the open market?
I'll trade him Chase Lucas. He went like 30 spots in front of him in the draft, so technically it's an upgrade.
4th rounder. So you get a 4th.
I'm looking at what the Eagles gave the Jags for Gardner Minshew. Conditional 6th.
Okay. For some reason,
they're conditional picks.
4th or 5th, yeah. It'll be like I say, it'll be a 5th that can become a 4th if he does something.
I'm just thinking of what Jimmy G was traded for by the Pats to the 49ers, and that was a late 2, I think. I think you could get a high 3. I just wanted to see what the room thought. Let's move on to safety in our rundown of outgoing players, then our rosters, then available players. The only player leaving us in the safety position at this moment in time, who isn't a core special teamer, is Deshaun Elliott, paid a $1.1 million last year, probably one of the steals of free agency, leaving us with Ifeatu Melifonwu, Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, and Brady Breeze in the safety room. There was a question from Dan Pass specifically about this. In advance of the secondary review, what type of contract would you give to Deshaun Elliott to resign him, and who would you sign if he went off to a bigger deal? So, I mean, I think we must probably acknowledge that there's a little bit of a safety need because there's only really 2 starters in there in Walker and Joseph. You need at least 1, if not 2, people to come in there. So a need is obvious. Is Elliott one of those? And if not, the other names I have on the list, Bates, Poyer, Amos, Bell, Edmonds, Wingard, Peppers, and Rapp were people that I saw in free agency. What do you reckon on Elliott's new deal?
I don't think he'll stay. I think he's destined to leave, if I'm honest. I don't think you can offer him enough to stay. I feel like he'll move on after a decent, healthy year. He was a stopgap. 2 names I like. Andrew Wingard from the Jags, I think, has been really good. And Taylor Rapp. But Taylor Rapp sometimes gets injured because he's a bit reckless. But I do like those two players. Von Bell, I really like, and Bates, but we can't afford them anymore for Saunders. But I'd bring Wingard in definitely as a replacement.
I'm probably going to cause some upset, but I wouldn't. Well, even if we could afford Bates, I wouldn't bring him in, because bringing in Bates would relegate Kirby to the bench, and that's not what we want for his development. He showed last year he could be a really, really good single high safety. So why not let him continue to develop there? We could have our own Bates on our hands, and we drafted him in the 3rd round. That's what I think. So if we couldn't bring in Elliott back, names I would bring in is Wingard, but also Terrell Edmonds from Pittsburgh. It's more of that sort of box safety role that we're looking for. Or if we're looking to someone that can be versatile, Jimmy Ward from San Francisco can play both safety, and this year played slot corner for them when they needed some help. So he's got a bit of versatility to him, and he's a veteran leader as well, and he won't be too expensive. I think he'll only be about $5 million a year at most, and he'll probably be lower than that.
We need, basically, the safety we need a safety who can defend against the run, because we don't have any. So 1, I'd be drafting 1, and 2, I'd be looking in free agents if I am for guys who can. Now, shock horror to those who know that I'm always harder on Michigan than others, but I'd bring in Jabril Peppers. I would. Yeah. I think he's incredibly good against the run. I think he is a guy we don't have on the roster currently who I'll bring in on 1st and 2nd downs, etc., to help us in the box in that regards. I think he had a terrific season last season, especially against the run there. He's still at a decent age. He's not too old. We could have him on the roster for a few years yet. I would bring Jabril Peppers to Detroit. I think he would fill the gap that we need, and I would draft another guy, specifically one who is, specifically a safety who is better against the run, and develop him long term as his replacement as well. I'd really double down on it.
So on Deshaun Elliott, I would offer him a deal, and if he doesn't want to take it, then that's fine. Someone in the chat suggested 3 years, 12 million. I'm not against that. I think that probably represents reasonable value, especially if the guaranteed money that you provide him means that a 3rd year is effectively a team option. I think that's absolutely fine. I would expect him to reject that anyway, but I wouldn't really want to go any higher. Jabril Peppers is my number 1 target in free agency. In free agency, generally, actually, I think he's probably one of my top targets. 27 years old, played with the Patriots last year. 2nd highest PFF grade of his career with a 75 overall grade, and the highest run defense grade of his career with an 84.6 in the New England system. So, going to be well versed in man coverage, which, really, really helps. Or systems that play man coverage. Obviously, as a safety, you're not going to play a lot of man coverage anyway. But 391 snaps, so not the most ever. And he's never had a season in the last 2 years where he's played more than 400 snaps, which is a little worrying. But despite that, he was only paid $2 million last year. I'd be content by giving him $4 million per. 2 years, $8 million, I think would be right up there for me. We need 4 safeties in our system because we often have 3 on the field, and we need to give someone a breather every now and again. So it's an absolute must to get someone in. If you want anyone any good, we have to pay.
I'm worried about Tracy too. I feel like this injury could be the start of the decline. Like, so he's had injuries before from, like, say, tackling. He's had stingers. He's had the concussion. I don't know how he's going to heal from the ACL, if I'm honest. Looks good, but how he translates on player, I'm drafting his replacement. I agree with that. I am going to try get in this ahead of this early.
Yeah, because in a year or 2, it's going to be a serious situation, and we can't afford to let happen to them what happened to the corners, is that we kind of let it slip a bit. We should have been preparing for Amani potentially leaving this. Because even if he'd have had a really good season, we probably wouldn't be paying him at this point in time. So you've got to get ahead of the ball with it. And, outside of Kirby, there's just no young talent coming through. And that's no slight on Iffy. I think he'll go back to corner. But, you've got to double down this season. You've got to double down.
I don't want Brian Branch, though. I'm just going to put it out there. I think 18, I think is too rich for a tweener.
The one name that was mentioned by Jefferson on the DLP was that John Johnson is a likely cut candidate from the Browns, and obviously having come from the Rams previously, our
Haven't
own
we had this
GM.
conversation before?
Yeah, when he was
We've
he
did
was
when he
Many,
was
agent.
many,
available.
many times.
2 years ago
If
when he was signed for a big deal to the Browns, but obviously he's lost a lot of value since then because he's played particularly badly in a system which doesn't suit him, but we would suit him. So
he could, if yeah, he could be an option. Another one, and it'd be following the Deshaun Elliott route a bit, is Geno Stone from the Ravens. He's going to be a free agent this year. He's number one. He's younger than me. He's just about to turn 24, and he played pretty well for them. I like in the sort of safety free special teams role for them. He got some rave reviews from them from what I've seen on Twitter. He'll be a good sort of young flyer to sort of train up if we don't bring back Elliott. But yeah, John Johnson he'll probably get another big deal from someone that'll fall in love with him. We'll probably get priced out again, unfortunately.
I'm going to just bring us to special teams. I haven't actually looked at the available free agents, but just to round out the roster, the people leaving us so far, Chris Board, Josh Woods, and Anthony Pittman, all linebackers. Pittman's an ERFA, so you can imagine he will return at least as a camp body to see whether he can stick. Board was paid $2 million, Woods $1.55 million, and Pittman $660,000. And Pittman, compared to those two at that salary, is an absolute steal. Bobby Price, a restricted free agent, he got paid $610,000 last year. The restricted free agent minimum tag is like $2.3 million. I can't imagine we'd offer him that, but he could return on a vet min deal, I suspect, for $100K, maybe something like that, possibly. CJ Moore's there too, $965,000. The safety, the punt protector, he left in mid-season but returned and played very well. And the kicker, Michael Badgley, $1.035 million. So, boys, I know that we have all talked at some form or fashion about the fact that we don't really want to worry too much about special teams. We want to have good players on defense, Ash. I know. Let me get there. But obviously, special teams is very important. You do need to have your guys who are exceptionally good at that, because we've seen what happens. Green Bay, two teams that completely ignore it altogether. Are there some players from that list that you'd want to bring back for their special teams ability?
Badgley. I will just bring Badgley back. Like you say, I'm not using a 5th rounder on Jake Moody. So for the love of God, please stop putting him in your mocks before like round 6. Like, how many kickers drafted in the last few years actually work out? I'll tell you now, it's not very many. I didn't rate like Daniel Carlson that. Like, so they're average, but they're not world beaters. Just because you can make a few 55, 60s, that's fine. That's not the consistent range you need in the NFL. I've seen Jay Moody struggle from 45. That's where I need him to be good at. So I'm just going to leave the money badger. He missed what, three kicks this season? I think it was. Is that it? Like, he's fine. Leave him be. Special teams in general. I'd like to bring CJ Moore back, but do you know what? The fact he left mid-season makes me think, actually, I think it's time he's probably going to part ways in general. I don't see him returning. The other guys, you know what? We've still got a good special teams unit. Offer him back. I'll give Bobby Price probably the same deal again, like max $1 million. I can't give him any more than that, though.
You know how I feel about this. We had this conversation many times about other guys who were just special teams guys. Oh, we can't lose them because they're good on special teams. Well, guess what? Special teams is good and they're long gone. There's a long list of names that we're like, oh no, but the special teams are so good with them. And it's like, oh, well, guess what? We've got special teams guys who are starters, like Malcolm Rodriguez, great special teamer, actually does something on the field for us time and time again. There are guys we can go out there who are good at special teams, who can provide something to this team. So what are these guys providing to this team outside of their special teams? Chris Board, nothing. We tried. Inoffensive contract. He's done okay, but nothing to keep on here. Josh Woods, maybe. I'll go have linebacker depth. Actually, Woods has done okay in spurts for us and shown that he can contribute if he's like linebacker 4, 5. So I could justify a case and a roster spot there for him with his special teams ability. Pittman, been here how many years? Still not in the first team. Rodrigo's come in and set the tone now for a late round undrafted free agent type to come in and make his mark on this team. Pittman's been here umpteen years, never made the jump. Get rid. Let's leave these guys in the past with old Detroit, who will put up with stuff like this. Price, injuries have banjaxed him. I'm not actually that fussed. You know, if he was to come back as real late depth, I wouldn't mind. Might he be on the practice squad? I would not mind that if you're going to elevate him and see if he can get back to his form again. More, yeah, maybe.
More. Sorry.
Maybe, but again, could I do better? Possibly, but as you mentioned, he does have special place on special teams as well, so you've got to take that into account. But for the most of these, they can go, and I will get guys who can play special teams and have a future in this team. I've gone over it again and again and again. I've been proven right. Our special teams is not going to suddenly die out without these guys. It's a good unit with a good coach, and it will stay being good.
So to defend CJ Moore a bit, because everyone keeps saying he was leaving, he was waived with an injury designation and he went to go play with his brother for a bit to get healthy because he saw the team and he didn't know if he wanted him back or not. So he didn't leave, he was waived. There's a slight difference. And as we keep saying, he's the personal protector on punts. That is one of the most important positions on special team, and he does it darn sight well. And he's shown the past couple of seasons he can come on and play in defense. He did it against Green Bay week 18, season before last, and got himself an interception. And this year, when we were really unhealthy at safety, he came on and he was actually decent on defense. So for me, CJ is an instant re-sign for his special teams, and because he can be a safety 5 and do a bit on defense. Woods, I completely agree. He was our best special teamer last year by PFF grade, played the second most snaps, and he's a good backup Mike, because remember the season before last, he had to play because Anzalone got injured for a bit and he had to play a couple of games right after we signed him from Chicago. Ward, he's okay on special teams. He was our second highest graded one, and we did try him at like a coverage role and it didn't work. Fair enough. If we cut bait with him and get someone else in, not too much of a fuss. And Pittman, as a linebacker 6 who can do some stuff against the run and can pass rush, because he was drafted as an edge rusher initially, believe, and then converted to linebacker by the Patricia regime, and keep him around for linebacker 6 in certain roles. And then special teams as an ERFA, it's also a no-brainer. So for me, I'd bring back most of the gang and just rerun it again. I know Ant's against it and he wants to upgrade for the draft and that. But sometimes at these lower level positions, you might as well stick with the devil that you know rather than the devil you don't, and potentially risk one person missing it, because one person missing their block on the special teams, and that's a punt return touchdown on you or something.
But just to push back on Ant's assertion that special teams is always fine, all you have to do is sign other players who have some other upside in other positions. So the two players I think you're probably referring to that we got rid of and we continue to be good are Miles Killebrew and Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think those are probably the two that we would stick out.
Yeah, but there's more.
There are more, I agree. The reason why our special teams has continued to be good is one, because of good coaching, which you rightly point out, but the other is it has been a point of emphasis in terms of signing players who are good at special teams. Chris Board and Josh Woods, specifically, were signed with hopes of being good on defense, and frankly have shown little to nothing. Now, they've been okay when called upon, but on an extremely limited basis, if nothing at all really, but did very well on special teams, and special teams continue to be great. Like, they went out there and replaced like for like cheaper than re-signing people, so re-signing is not always an option if they're asking for too much. That's not the point. But special teams is important. I remember Jason Bell, the former DB in the NFL who came onto this show, who basically said to us, the best special teams players don't play defense or offense or any other position, because the specialists in special teams who are the best in the league get tired playing defense and then can't give their best on special teams, and sometimes you do need to have the core special teams players. You also need people who have versatility on defense to provide the depth, but sometimes you do need those that don't offer anything else because they're just bloody good at what they do. So I think it's half of one and half of another. I don't think it's blanket, we need versatility always.
Oh, come on. Are you telling me guys like Pittman are here if our linebacker unit has any depth to it whatsoever?
Yes.
A lot of these guys are here because our rooms are thin. There's no one there. Board we've bought in because there's no one at linebacker. He doesn't get in many linebacker rooms. Pittman doesn't get in many linebacker rooms. And as we've seen, if you can find the right people to come in with the right attitude and replace them, their asses are gone. I'm not keeping people on a 53-man roster who could just play special teams for that. Guys come in here and show that you can play it well otherwise. And we have shown that when Killebrew left, there was all that, oh my God, he's gonna be so bad, he's really good. No, it's not. Because we replaced him properly.
Yeah,
and
that's
we
the
got
point,
in players who have
Exactly.
futures here. And we can go out and do that. We shouldn't just say, oh yeah, let's bring them back because they're special teams. Let's at least go out there and look and try. If they're, if we don't find anyone, bring them back, whatever. But don't just sit there and give them a roster spot every year because all they do is play a few snaps of special teams for you. And we've seen this. So
you're forgetting one thing though, Ant. We tried to re-sign Killebrew and Jalen Reeves-Maven. We just got priced out by the Steelers and by the Texans respectively. But
Killebrew, they did us a favor.
They did, yeah, you can see it's doing a favor, but we still wanted them back because of their special teams. I remember when Killebrew was here, we tried him at both safety and linebacker, and it didn't work out, but we kept him around because he was a good core special teamer. And then when we got priced out by the Steelers, we thought with their system, they could probably get a bit more out of him on defense and then keep him as special teams. They signed him to hire. And what happened? He didn't do much on their defense either. Same with James Reed-Maven, the Texans. I'm not saying you have a load of special teamers, but if you have a couple of guys outside of the kick, obviously outside kicker, punter, long snap, who do nothing on any other unit, if you have like a 2 or 3 who can just be low level depth on defense or offense and then play special teams really well, it's worth keeping them on very small contracts because special teams can be that little minute difference between winning and losing games. We saw it this season early with the decision to kick against Minnesota. We've seen it with countless years with Green Bay and their bad special teams. We saw it that one year the Chargers had the #1 scoring offense and defense and didn't make the playoffs because they had one of the worst special teams units by DVOA in history. Special teams is that little 1%er that can change games. And where we are right now with the division, we need that 1% to be as certain as possible for me.
And special teams is also a route through for guys to make this team. You've got a load of lifers in there who have got no future rather than special teams at this level. You might lose the guys who use that to come through your system. It's, you're proving my point here. These guys have gone elsewhere and done nothing. There are guys who come through our system who will play special teams, do the dirty work to earn an opportunity in our team to come and play and do well. And that is what Detroit is all about. Opportunity. Opportunity knocks for any guy, don't matter where you come from, what you picked. You have an opportunity here. Special teams is the route through. And special teams should be the route to develop first team players if you're not spending big draft picks or money on them. And some of these guys have just been here so long now and made no progression that if you can replace them, you replace their ass in an instant because they're not offering you anything more than that.
One route that we haven't looked through this, which Dan brings up in the Twitch chat, is the performance of the players that you'd rather didn't play special teams because it might impact on their play when they're actually playing on defense. And he specifically says, I'd rather Rodrigo was playing on defense only because actually, okay, he's a good special teamer, but if he's playing there, does that not impact him negatively when he's on the field on defense? I mean, do you not think that... I agree with you in terms of it being a conduit. If you have someone who's a good special teamer who has upside, but primarily plays on special teams, that's a good way of doing it. I 100% think that's true. But if you've got a guy who's on the fringes of being on that first team player, he's in the rotation, you don't want him playing special teams. Like, that hurts his production. So I think it depends where you are. If he's a purely developmental player, I'm 100% with you. But We had Tracy Walker playing special teams. These are the players that have the highest risk of injury in the league. Like, why do we want to have some of our good-ish players playing any of these snaps at all? Fair enough, we got shrugs. That's cool. I'm going to finish off these special teams by acknowledging that we do have
a free agent market, by the way.
Sorry?
Yeah, we've not talked about long snappers, Matthew.
Is there any notable free agents?
I've noticed you've conveniently omitted
He
that one.
had his own very special category coming up, if you don't let me finish. Jack Fox is on the roster as punter. I wanted to acknowledge first. And then the long snapper, Scott Daly, ERFA, 660 grand, obvious cut. Let's move on. No, he's got to stay around. He's been fine. You can do worse. Any thoughts?
Robert Soderholm. Robert Soderholm, please. He's the guy who was at the Senior Bowl, who was getting rave reviews, played the East West Shrine Bowl with Jake Moody, who went through his field goals and was perfect in the Senior Bowl as well. And there was clips of him demolishing guys in the special teams drills. And he could be there as like a late round pick if you really want to get spicy, like Jimmy Landez, or he'll probably be there as a priority free agent. And he's bloody good. I've seen clips of him. I know I'm a special teams guy, but when there's other people tweeting out clips of a special teams guy and saying, "Oh my God, look at this guy," you know something's up.
Any other thoughts on the rest of the special teamers? Any thoughts on the free agency class? I haven't bothered to look because, frankly, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point. Any thoughts on the entirety of the defense as a whole in terms of big needs or other thoughts that you have? Obviously, we'll get into draft stuff after this episode, so maybe leaving that to one side.
Well, every position is still really there to be upgraded, so I would say nothing's off the table. I think, the free agency is going to be based, and you mentioned this earlier about how all in Brad Holmes wants to go this year. He has shown a tendency to not restructure contracts, to not kick the can down the line. Most of the ones done are only because we needed in-season funds to deal with injuries. He's not a guy who just kicks the can down the market. Now, there is a lot of money, over 50 million potentially, that can be made by restructuring deals. Is he going to feel that, the Lions were that close to the NFC North? Is he going to restructure deals? Is he going to go all in on it? I think that's how you'll know how free agency is going to go. If he touches any of those big contracts, I think he's got plans in mind and he might make a splash. But if he doesn't, then I think you can safely say it's going to be what we've seen every year so far. 1 year flyers, maybe some 2-year, 3-year deals to guys of ours who are out of contract. I think it's mostly going to be our own guys coming back again, with maybe a few flyers here and there once rosters start getting cut and that. But I'd be interested to know what he's thinking, because there is an open door for the top of the NFC North at the minute, and it must be tempting for him to open some money up and really go for it.
If you really want to know what Holmes is thinking, get yourself on a plane to Indianapolis for Wednesday, because that's when him and Dan are doing their press conferences. So I swear it's going to be one of the questions is, what is his going to be strategy for this year? Is he going to go all in, or are we going to continue plowing the course and building the way we are? And I'd love to hear it as well. There's a load of questions I'd love to ask Holmes, and I'm going to be glued to Twitter whenever it's announced he's doing it, and I'm going to have it open on YouTube, and I'm going to be listening, because any little tidbits we can get to inform our thinking are going to be useful as hell.
I'm team all in. Just saying, I'm sick of treading. We've been treading water for years. I'd rather we go all in 1 year and it blows up spectacular in our face. Just give me something like that. Give me Bobby Wagner, and if he convinces Jalen Ramsey to come, do you know what? It's going to be really fun next year. Is it going to work out? Maybe not. Probably not. No, it'll probably be a disaster. But it shows a little bit of gusto and fire. So yeah, we'll see. I can't wait for free agency. I really want to be a player for once.
Deep down in my heart of heart, I think we're going to hold pat for 1 more year. I think when the real money starts becoming available next season, we've got another 2 first-round picks who will have a year in the system. The core will be as young as it's ever going to be with all that talent we've got. I think this time next year is when the money's going to start getting spent en masse. I could be wrong, but I don't feel like Holmes is going to gamble, especially, you've got teams who've got really big free agency budgets to work with, the Bears, the Falcons, teams like that, who are going to be putting in stupid bids for people. So we've got to be careful. Because we're at a very tentative stage of the rebuild at the minute. And although we've had success early, it's just, we've got to make sure we don't overshoot our shot. So I think one more year of standing pat and then we get there. But I would love for us to go for something a bit bigger. It would be nice, I wouldn't lie, but deep down, I don't think he will.
But we've got a couple of questions which I'll just address now. One comment from one Funky Lions fan. He says, trade Okuda and a second this year and a second next year to LA for Ramsey, then draft a CB in the first this year as well. I'm
Ouch.
sorry, but I hate it. It's too much capital. Even though Okuda's going to be leaving at the end of this season, on average,
I don't
for
think they want
nothing.
Okuda. I don't think they'd like that trade. I don't think they want Okuda.
So you're effectively giving up 3 picks there, 'cause you're giving up 2 for Ramsey, you're giving up all the money for him, and then you're you're drafting a corner to replace Okuda. We're going back into the Matt Patricia cycle again, where you're not adding to your team, you're replacing your team, and you can't really get into that. We need to start adding to it. Give Okuda his last year. At this point, on the contract he's on, you can just see what happens. And if it doesn't work this time next year, get rid. But it does us no good now to get rid of him if there is something potentially left with him. You're wasting 3 picks and a bag of money on one player. And that is the type of thing, that is the overshooting your shot type thing that I'm on about. That is too much. Especially all those seconds. I know historically we don't do well with them and there's a curse and all that and best off not having them, but that's still too much. That's overshooting your shot. Use your picks on talented players out the draft. Keep building your team the way you are because you are experiencing success with your young team. Keep doing that.
If I'm making a big trade as well, if I'm sending a player, it's not Okuda. I'm sending Swift. He's the obvious trade candidate. Like I said, their running back room is still gash in LA, and he's got the little bit of the rookie deal. You'd send him the other way with the picks, not Jeff. Do I have hopes for Jeff this year? No. Has he been dealt a really shit hand in his NFL career? He has. It's just not worked out. So yeah, give him one go. If he balls out, get an extension. But I agree. Like I can't send a corner and then need to draft another corner and pay a corner. Like I say, that's cutting your nose to spite your face, unfortunately.
We had a question also from Perry Ball, and it deals with one thing we've already discussed, but I'm going to go through it because it's a slightly different flex, and then 2 things from last week. He says, are there any young players in free agency at defensive tackle, guard, and running back? So defensive tackle, all of the players under 27 years old who are not exclusive rights free agents. Tristan Hill, 24.9 years old from Arizona. Albert Huggins from New Orleans, 25.7 years old. Deron Payne, 25.8 years old. Greg Gaines from the Rams, 25.8 years old. Tyler Tart from Tennessee. Kevin Givens from San Francisco. Jerry Tillery from Vegas. Colleen Saunders from Kansas City. Armon Watts from Chicago. Derek Nady from Kansas City. I have no idea who that is. Do not recognize that name. Byron.
You don't know Derek Nady?
Nope.
No idea who most of them are. I think that answers your question for
That
you.
apart from Deron Payne and Jerry Tillery.
Yeah. I'm going to move it to guard and sort it by age. At guard, Nate Herbig, 24.6 years old. Michael Jordan from Carolina. David Edwards from the Rams. Cody Ford from Arizona. Ben Powers from Baltimore. Evan Brown from Detroit. Michael Dieter from Miami. Nate Davis from Tennessee. Max Sharping from Cincinnati. Nick Algoretti from Kansas City. All your players under 27 years old. Anyone stand out there?
No.
Osiris Torrance from
Ford.
Florida.
Osiris. Yeah.
Cody Ford for me.
You've got to start drafting new offensive line guys. You've got to do it now. That's as a priority matter to start drafting guys now, especially your guard. Because Jonah's going to get paid a shit ton of money next year, and we can't afford 5 highly paid guys on the line.
And here's the running backs. Jarrett Patterson from Washington is 23. Salvon Ahmed from Miami, 24. James Robinson from the Jets, 24. Travis Homer, 24 from Seattle. Alexander Mattison, 24 from Minnesota. Benny Snell from Pittsburgh, 24. Then the 25-year-olds, Josh Jacobs from Vegas. Rico Dowdle from Dallas. Justice Hill from Baltimore. Travion Williams from Cincinnati. Devin Singletary from Buffalo. Ty Johnson via Detroit from the Jets. Ronald Jones at Kansas City. Devin Montgomery from Chicago. Miles Sanders from Philly. Tony Pollard from Dallas. Those are all the people under 26 years old. Anyone?
I'd take Robinson.
I'd
I
say
genuinely
James
would.
Robinson.
I think he got done dirty by the Jags. And I think, when he went to the Jets, he was behind one of the offensive rookie of the year candidates for some time. I think there is a very good running back in there still who does not have much mileage on him. I would still draft one, and I would have him. I think that would be a good running back room.
I'd take Mattison, but I think he wants running back one money. I think he's probably going to be a running back one next year somewhere. So I think it's a bit unlikely. But there's a lot of guys there that are so injury prone that have just been rife with injuries, and that list just worries me. Josh Jacobs is going to do the best.
I think the Bears will end up paying Montgomery.
Yeah,
I do.
think
With
so
all that
too.
money they've got and the way he's been there for ages, he fits their system. He pass blocks pretty well. I don't think they're going to move on from him. I think they'll open the purse strings a bit for him. That might be one of the few overpays they do this year.
I wonder what Benny Snell gets, because when I've seen him play, I've thought he's looked good, but he's hardly having an opportunity.
Well, is he the Pittsburgh one?
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Well, let's just say he's been beaten out by Jalen Warren. And notice, I love Jalen Warren's story there. But if he's getting beaten out by Jalen Warren so quickly, then I would question how good he is. Because Jalen is massively undersized and was not expected to do that well to begin with. He was a good running back at college, but he's been really, really good for them. So you're losing to him so quickly. Nuh-uh.
What does Singletary get on the open market? I'm not saying I'm interested, I'm just asking. 3 mil? 2.5?
Chuck E. Cheese
Probably,
meal?
yeah.
Audience subscription.
Spot rack for 5.5 million.
Oh, really?
What?
Oh, really?
5.5
Who they're comparing him to?
I'd pay him $5.5 million over 5 years.
I'm
Million
going
a
to
year.
reload it again to find out who is the comparison. While I do
you.
that, Big Airy
That's
says,
his draft one.
oh, here's the comparison. James Conner, Gus Edwards, Chase Edmonds, Jamal Williams.
Oh, get out of here.
He's
Really?
worse than all of them.
Right.
By a long way.
Anyway, moving on to the last question. Big Aries on Twitch asks, what offensive position do you think the Lions address first? Be it, or will it be a free agent or draft pickup, not counting re-signing our own free agents? So what's the most important position to address, I guess?
God. That offensive line falls apart when the guard's not playing well. And as I said, in terms of future years, we need to get some talent on this line that's going to be under rookie contract for a little bit of time. So I think that's priority one. And Holmes' inclination towards building the trenches, I think with the D-line looking fairly set and 4/5 of the O-line looking fairly set, that will be right up there on his list. And I just can't think of anything else that's going to take that much priority. Running back you need, tight end you kind of need, wide receiver you need depth, but not to
You
the
need a
degree of
starting
guard.
X. We need a starting X. If we don't bring
Depends
back
with
Chark,
yeah.
we need a guy. It's like because it's the same with guard. We've got Vitae, and if the Kramer's back can hold up, he's in the IFA, and he could keep re-signing on cheap deals unless he really balls out. In which case, then probably need to get a new guy. But he's young enough. He's only 2-3 years into his career. So if he can hold up, for me, it's going to find that bona fide X who can be here longer than 1 year. Because if Chark comes back, it'll probably be another 1-2 year deal. We need someone long term so we can have a set free like the Bengals do, for example, where we know we've got Amon-Ra in the slot, we've got J-Mo on one side, and then we've got a big guy on the other side. Obviously, we all know that. Well, we both agree, Ant, that Puka from BYU is one of the premium options in the draft for that, and I know PFF on having him at like 200 currently on their big board and the mock drafts, but I'd take him in like the third if he's there.
I know what you mean. Again, but we can make the same argument against Hal. I guess Hal has one more year here because his contract is imminently cuttable next year, and I think he's get. I don't know. It's tough. It is between an X receiver and a guard. Even if both Chark and Hal come back, I think they are still two of the positions you are wanting to shore up. So, and like I say, just with the line in general, outside of Eze, who is a late round flyer at this moment in time with a lot of development to do, the next generation of O-line is not there. And we desperately, desperately need someone. So say Jonah paid next year, Penne paid the year after. Lot of money in there, and we've got to start prepping for it. So I think O-line's going to get some special attention. Not early, because there ain't no one there, but day 2, I think you can bet your bottom dollar they will.
Dylan Gibbons.
It's running back for me. I mean, we've got very little. Swift is someone that can't be relied upon. 3 games out of 17 every year, and sorry, if you're in the playoffs, that's not a good strike rate when you need to stack good games together. Can't be relied upon. Williams may not come back. It'll be crap if he doesn't, because he's such a fun guy to have around. It makes watching the team and watching the press conferences fun, and that's great. But
you don't pay money for that.
You don't pay money for that. And that's why Bijan's such a big priority for me. Like,
it's already winded. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just like, you don't make a song and dance about Barkley for 4 years because he's rubbish. He hasn't been worth 2. But he took the Giants to a playoff, took the Giants all the way there.
Yeah.
And we're almost there. Like, even though my report said that he's a surefire top 10 pick, I wouldn't take him at 6 because we've got bigger problems at more impactful positions. But 18, he is so in there for it. If he's available at that spot, or if someone at like 12 or 13 wants to trade down in return for a 5th or something, then yeah, let's go. Like I'm keen.
Yeah, and it's a good class, and you want to spend on a good one. It's like, I'm already tired of seeing the Isaiah Pacheco thing. I'm just like, yes, we get it. 7th round pick, did well in a running back room. You name me, outside of Isaiah Pacheco and Damian Pierce, you name me one of the other 15 running backs taken on day 3 of the draft last year, and most of you will be scratching your heads going, I don't have a clue. Why? Because it's a massively high bust rate for those guys. You find one gem every now and then, like you do with all positions in there. Chiefs got the best O-line in the league, or one of, and is in a system which benefits him. So I don't want to hear none of this. You can get Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th. Yeah, you got a 1 in 6, 7 chance of getting a guy like him. I don't like my odds there. Thank you. So I'm going to take one of the elite backs at the top of the draft who is actually really damn good.
And Pacheco, for most of the season, did naffle. It's only towards the end of the season in the playoffs that he really came alive. So even then, it might be a 1 year. It might be like a sort of Joe Flacco thing with the Ravens, where he managed to string together enough games to win a Super Bowl. If he comes out next season and is bang average, all that talk's going to go away. And to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
And just because the Chiefs massively overdrafted CEH is not an argument for you. They were stupid taking him. He was never a 1st round pick, and he was not as good as a lot of guys in that class. That was just a reach, and a bad one. Bijan is in a whole different category to what CEH ever was. He's got more talent in his little right finger than CEH does. So, invalid argument, folks.
I am looking down the list of running backs picked in day 3. And apart from Tyler Algier, Hassan Haskins, Jerome Ford, it's a big, long list of
Kyron Williams, I can remember. Kyron Williams, I can remember from the Rams. They took him.
Yeah. Ty Chandler.
Oh, yeah, Ty Chandler, yeah.
He's done UNC. A bit, but he's on a stacked Jets team, is he? No, he's not on Jets. He's with the Vikings.
Minnesota.
He's on the Vikings. He's on a stacked Vikings team. But that's what I mean. You find some here, and most of them don't hit. A lot of them have not contributed anything. and people, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it, but you've got to have a really good team that's going to find the right one. And the trouble is, you've got 15 running backs this year. 15, I reckon, who you could take in the top 2 days. Not often you get a class that talented. I mean, really talented. So waiting till day 3 this year would be stupid. Really would be.
So I'm going to push back on that. So for me, I don't want to take a running back on day 2 because of the strength in depth of this class. Like, if you're going to take a running back and you can take one of the guys with good upside in day 3, and I look at the guys in day 2, I think in day 2, I can get a bona fide starter who's going to make an impact on defense at this position. The reason I'm taking Bijan high is because I think he's legitimately a world changer. But I don't think that about Jahmyr Gibbs, at least not yet. I don't think that about any of the guys that are projected to be day 2 picks. But I think about people like Israel Abanikanda, that you rightly have pointed out almost all year. And it's like, okay, if I can get someone like that on day 3, or I can get Bijan, I'm on board with either of those eventualities. But getting someone like Jahmyr Gibbs when you can get a starting right guard, or upside tight end in Darnell Washington if he slips that far, or a starting X receiver in late day 2 in Puka Nacua, or someone like that, and you want to take a running back, and I'm like, shoot for the moon with Bijan, or take the spin in day 3, because most of those picks don't work out whether they're running backs or not.
Again, it's like you've got to pick the right running back for your system, though.
That's true.
The kind of guy that you want. Do you want a bell cow? Do you want a dual threat? You know, do you want a guy who can run between the tackles, outside the tackles? It's the same with corner.
Yes, all of those things.
Oh yeah, he can do all. He can do literally. Yeah, that's Bijan. He can do everything, inside, outside. You know, fucking doing a handstand. He can do it. So
upside down.
But you've got to be careful. It's like the corner class. Everyone goes. Yeah, but everyone goes, you can wait on corner, and you could, but you might not get a guy who fits what you do. That's why it's important to still get them despite the class being good. So you got to be careful. That's all I'm saying with this one.
But then basically I would say to you, find your guy, do your scouting, get him on day 3. If there's that many people available, you can find one that fits you late. You don't have to pick high to do that.
Possibly.
Olivia.
Right. Mike says, I want to trade out of 6 so bad, get more picks and trade back up into round 1 late and have 3 first rounders, but a bit later on. I love you, Mike. I don't like that take. 6.
Same.
I think 6 has such a chance of having Carter or Anderson. I think there's a 50% chance now of getting either Carter or Anderson at that pick, or getting a King's Ransom for the pick if they fall to 6. I wouldn't trade out of that pick pre-draft, at the very least, to see what someone's going to offer you. But you have a 100% chance of having Richardson or Carter or Anderson on the board at that point. Like,
I don't see anyone worth trading back into the first round for. Who is worth the 5th-year option that much? I can't think of anyone off my head at 31.
Fifth-year options are dying out as well because they're just too expensive for teams now.
And especially with good players, how many players are getting paid after 2 or 3 years now?
Exactly.
It's kind of
So for me, it is stick at 6 until the draft. If there is a Carter Anderson with a spoon there, you take them. Or if you get a King's Ransom, because let's say, I don't know, Carolina wants to come up for Levis and we can go back a few spots, I'd take that. The one I really want to trade back from, and it'd be for picks next year, is 18.
I could get on board with that take. I want picks
just because we're biased.
If Carter falls to 6, everyone should get naked and run around cheering. That is how good that would be if he fell to that point. So,
whoever's on Twitch, clip that for me, please.
The thing about picks in future years that Ant, you've talked about before, is you have a look at a team like Philadelphia. You have look at a team like Miami until last year, who've made a complete roster out of slightly trading down to take advantage of the inefficiencies in the market and saying, I'm going to take future capital, you're going to be worse at picking than I am, I'm still going to get effective talent, and now I've got an extra pick in a premium position compared to you. And what's that? You traded a future first round pick because you thought you were all in, but your quarterback's just been injured. Oh no, I've got a top 5 pick. You know, I just kind of think that at the end of the day, if you can stack first round picks in future years and not move down too far, that's an automatic win no matter what. And if Jalen Carter's on the board, I will do a song and dance. But if someone says, here, have a trade down of 10 picks and have 2 future first rounders, I'm just saying in a mad world, you know?
Yeah, you're all getting excited because the Rams sucked this year. I mean, what if the Rams were actually good this year? They're picking at 21, we're picking at 18. You ain't going to get pick 6 value out of that we've got from them this season. And if next year you give your first to the Panthers and, you know, you get one off them and they get into the playoffs and they're good and we're 20 and they're 21, 22, whatever, something like that, you ain't going to get pick 6 back out of that. And you've passed up on Jalen Carter. You're not going to get a player like that. You are running a roulette. If the talent is there, you take them. We've had multiple first-round picks these last few years. They've got plenty of talent in there. We cannot start getting greedy and go, oh, you know, let's just keep stocking up futures and keep missing talent here and there. The fact is, we've used our picks wisely. We got 2 good picks for staff from the first round. Used it well. Obviously, Williams turns into superstar. We hope he does. We've done well. We do well this time. This is a young team. We want to build the core now and not put it off. So I'm not doing it.
I've got 2 points. Number one, don't you say because we've got 5 top 80 picks, haven't you said before that we can afford some luxuries, such as trading down and getting picks for future years, like next year, where I know it's, again, a roulette. We said it about 2 years ago with their QB class. But God, if let's say we don't get Richardson this year and Goff regresses slightly next year, don't you want a next? I know I'm touch wood, it doesn't happen and all that. And don't worry, I'm not going to say the name. He's not the one I'm going to mention.
Drake May.
But he is an option. If we need to trade up for a Caleb Williams or a Drake May, or to satisfy you, KJ Jefferson, who I would have above that guy right now because he has the NFL Pro frame and my guy doesn't. We need that. We need as much capital because until we get a until we get a QB that has the upside to be elite, we need to make sure we can still be in a race to get them, because otherwise we're going to enter the purgatory like the Vikings, like the Rams have been, where you've got a good roster, but you don't have the QB to use it.
Right.
This is assuming that there's always the quarterback at one. See, Mahomes wasn't 1 or 2. Watson, for as bad as a person as he is, the quarterback is, he's not 1 and 2. Yeah, but you don't need 2 first to do that, or 3 first, or whatever you need to do that. It's not always a situation where you need to go up and get the guy like that.
Ryan, I'm sorry, we kind of interrupted you several times on that. Any thoughts?
Oh, sorry, Ryan.
No, we all did.
I like the class next year. Like I said, I don't mind stacking a first for next year. Like I said, the Lions this year were just not going to be bad enough to get that future signal call next year. That's the only worry. If suddenly like Goff hits a wall and we need to find a replacement. So that's why I'm Team Richardson. Like I said, I'm just willing, while we've got 2 first-round picks and while we've got that ability to gamble, it could very easily just fuck up. But right now, I think I'll throw a flyer at him if he's there. I think I'll sit at 6 and not trade it.
Thanks to Big Aries, I'm hoping that we have something quite funny now.
Yes. Thank you, Big Aries. Yes.
But I do think Anthony Richardson is going top 2. I don't think he's getting anywhere near us.
Top 2, and it might not be 2.
You know what? When it comes to our draft betting show, Matt, I'm totally having you on that one.
Well,
can I have you on the Titans one?
Let's see how the cookie crumbles when we get a bit closer to it. I like making my bets a bit closer.
If Musgrave has a good combine, then you can absolutely have that bet.
Okay.
3 of them are going. All it is about Musgrave and how healthy he is.
I think 3 are going. That's fine. I definitely think 3 tight ends are going in the first round.
But I only think 3 tackles are as well. So if Musgrave proves well, I think there will be more tight ends than tackles in the first round of a draft.
Tackle's a difficult one because what do you class as a tackle? Is Paris Johnson a tackle?
Theoretically, in this case, yes. Him, Skoronski, and Broderick Jones, yes.
I have 1 tackle in those 3.
Well, they are listed as offensive tackles, so
yeah,
that's even worse. This is proving my point. If you've only got 1 guy listed as tackle, then I'm definitely winning. So, I'm sticking up for Ash here. This side of it, I'm like, yeah, there got to be tackles there. So,
anyway, anything more on the recorded part of the show, or shall we bring it to a close here?
I think we're good.
Ash,
long live Scott Daly.
No,
I'm just quick. I'm just quickly trawling through combine reports to see if we've met with anyone. Because they're starting to come out like the Jags have met.
We can talk about that in just a sec, but our next episode on the main show is going to be on a position in particular. It's a draft prospects show. We're going to take a range of prospects from day 1 to day 3 and beyond and profile them all for you next week. Haven't decided on the position just yet, but I'll talk about that in just a sec. If you're not on the live show, you're missing out, by the way, because we continue chatting for at least a little bit. But there we go. Also going to be high-level combine talk there, although if you want some more specialist combine chat, you'll have to tune into the College Football Podcast, and they will be in on this coming Friday talking about the HBCU Legacy Bowl with some special guests who know a heck of a lot about this stuff. Some really good prospects this year from the HBCU colleges and universities, so you need to check that out to be informed on the 2023 NFL Draft. Please don't forget to follow us on Rural Lions UK, on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And the group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride, worldwide. The website, rotluk.com. You can see Ash's articles there. I'm going to be putting up some content too very shortly. We've also got lots of good little prospect videos coming out. I know that there's one on Christian Gonzalez going to be dropping in the next week or so from Tom Wilkinson, so check that out too. Please don't forget to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. But it just remains for me to thank my co-hosts too, and Ash and Brian. I'm Matt, and we'll see you next time. Let's go Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Right, what position group do we want to do next week? Because I want to do one that's definitely a need, that we can do easily now, that's not going to move a huge amount. And my feeling on that is DT. But I don't know if you guys have any pushback on that. I want quarterback to be last because it's the one that moves the most. And it's one that's of importance to us. But if you have any opposing views on that, then that's cool.
No, the DT class ain't moving anytime soon. That's about locked up in stone at this point.
Well, I mean, you got Kalijah, who's moved a fair way recently.
Kalijah's number 2 now.
Yeah, I know.
Easy.
But, I mean, he's moved to what, 100 spots he's moved? Maybe?
Yeah.
Roughly, yeah.
So I think looking at the list, there's not much that's going to change, I don't think. Unless Breesy absolutely blows it away. I think it's pretty set.
David Reinfeldt asks, when do you do... Sorry.
DT class is more prospects this year in terms of later guys who could be really damn good. There's a whole big bunch of them. It's guys at the top that are in short supply this year, but in the middle, a huge, big, fat group in the middle who could be really good.
Just to finish that off, sorry, David Reinfeldt asks, when do you guys do your mock draft? So we do a full Lions 7 rounds mock draft 2 weeks before the draft, and a full first round mock draft the week before. I am tempted to shoehorn another one in, because when the Draft Network do release their new mock draft machine, they have a multiplayer mode, and we have TDM Premium. Ooh. So we could log in remotely, take a quarter of the league each or so, and do that together, and I think that might be a cool thing that actually won't take that long to do. if we're all making separate decisions on our own. I think it's when it's discussing it between us that's what takes ages. So I think we could drop like a special episode or one just before the draft. We were thinking about doing one on the Wednesday before. That might be a time to do that sort of thing, maybe.
It's just
I
nice
like
to
that
get
idea.
some of free. It's just nice to get some of free agency out the way to make teams' needs a bit clearer. It just changes so much, especially with the quarterbacks. I mean, half these quarterback needy lot in the top 10 might have quarterbacks before the draft. So you kind of want to. You kind of want to at least give a few weeks, let all the initial hustle and bustle from free agency die down, let all those signings be made. Because usually you have that one big wave at the start, then everyone waits till the draft's done and what they need after the draft.
Yeah.
So probably after that first week, I'd say.
So we're agreed on next week we're doing DT.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
DT's fun.
Okay, so with DT, what we did last year is I took all the prospects that I had on my big board and then asked you guys who you wanted to profile when we tried to get some between day 1 and day 3. And then we assigned about 2 or 3 each to go away and review for the next week and then come back with findings. So obviously that requires people who are going to be available next week, kind of important, or to make notes that we can read out. But if there's 4 on and we do 3 each, that's 12 players, which is pretty good. So any thoughts on that process?
Well, there's a certain podcast I know that did the top 10 on it just a few days ago.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Please enlighten us. No, tell the guy. Some people may not have seen that show. Tell us all about it.
I haven't.
Oh, right.
Yet.
So the last college football podcast that we did, me and Ryan did our top 10 for all the positional groups for the upcoming draft. Ryan did offense. I did defense. So if you want to go check that out, that's fine. I still need to put the audio viewing up. I'll do that in the morning, but you can find it on YouTube. And we did our top 10 positional groups for each, and it's good fun. Like I said, D-tackle, potential to be really good this year. Just don't have your hopes up for a day 1 pick or an early day 2 pick. Outside of that, it could be really, really fun.
I do have my video on Brian Brzee dropping probably next weekend. But fans of his will not like it.
Oh, God.
He's very. Yeah, but that's the thing. These videos, you've got to try and be unbiased.
It's not a hype video. Yeah. It isn't a highlights video. It's an honest review very quickly. And so you're not going to see everything. I think a range of 25 to 40 is very fair for him. Yeah.
Unless he kills the combine. I think if he kills the combine and shows crazy athleticism, because the injury is one of the big knocks.
He will show crazy athleticism. His get off the line is elite. He's really good at giving tackles problems from the 7 technique, never mind from inside. His problem is run defense. He's not a starter in the NFL on the interior, but that's what his body type is. He's made himself a tweener at 300 pounds. Like, it's weird.
But the only trouble is he's in a class that is dearth of talent at the top, outside of the top 2. So positional value will dictate that he might get taken earlier than he technically should do. I think that's going to happen with the offensive line. I think you're going to see some offensive linemen who have no business been in round 1 this year, been there because there aren't that many of them. I think you'll find more safeties than you will safeties. Bloody hell. I think genuinely there are more bona fide centers than tackles this year with a first round grade. So, oh dear. You're all right, Matt.
My friend has just sent to me an image in a tweet, and it's an image of Christian Eriksen with the League Cup. And it says, he literally left Tottenham, died, came back to life, switched clubs twice, and won a trophy before Harry Kane.
Oh my God.
Oh dear.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's savage, but it's quite good. That's quite good.
Oh.
Sorry.
Have you seen the one of
Sorry, Ryan.
I'm going to shoot and sort the dog out.
All right,
all right.
Speak to you soon. I'll jump in chat.
Speak soon.
I'll see you on Friday.
Yep. See you later.
Is there any improvements to the process we can do?
What process?
Well, for doing our positional stuff, because it's the next 6 weeks. So
I thought it was good last year.
Yeah, I did too. I just, constant improvement, and I don't know. the guys in the chat whether they saw any of what we did last year. But if you've got any thoughts on that stuff, then please, feel free. Or if there's a way that you just like things being done, then, all ears for this, because we want it to be as accessible to you guys as we can. Because honestly,
Or ask them what position they want us to do.
I guess
Yeah,
that's
true.
the other thing. But the problem is that you then get lumped with a position that you're either not ready for or is not relevant early. Like DT, I just think is so easy to profile right now compared to pretty much any other position. Cornerback, DT is not a technically difficult position to watch on tape, and there's lots of tape. Like cornerback is they're all very technical positions. It's not about whether they're technical or not. It's just about ease of ability to review these guys quickly, especially for the guys who don't watch college.
Yeah. Plus recorder and that's going to be very athletically tested, weighted in terms of at least people's perceptions.
It's very
So, like,
subjective.
let's say, yeah.
I mean, even if you said 12 guys, we're probably missing out a lot of good ones. So
yeah,
it's a very deep class. The same with running back. It's very subjective as to who has who and this and that. But DT outside the top 4, it's very subjective as to who is good and who isn't. There will be a lot of work you'll need to do on it, because I had to, because it's a class that is, as I say, more built for the last 2 days, last day and a bit of the draft really this year.
Carlton
Unless you start bringing guys in.
Yeah, that's fair. Carlton Wood asks, so Matt, Brazil isn't in our round 2 range. I think he'll go before our round 2 picks if he's available. I'd highly consider taking him, because even though I don't think he's a starter yet, it's not like picking Levi. He is a different body type. He provides a different skill set, and the talent is clearly there. It's just whether he can reach it or not. I know that. And it wasn't that long ago that you were saying he's absolutely that guy that you think he can be. It's just whether he gets back there. So I think at round 2, middle of round 2, he's potentially worth that pick. But I just can't invest a round 1 pick in him. I wouldn't.
We're not in the right positions to do it. And there's other positions up there really that we need. So no, yeah. Again, I like the way he's come back this year. I had big problems with him to the injuries pre-season. I didn't want going in near him, and I'm still at the point where he's kind of proven it, but there's just too much uncertainty for me with him, which I'm not comfortable with. So, yeah. There are not many DTs I would draft. Outside of Carter and Cansey, there's probably Benton, and I think them 3. I think they're the top 3 DTs in this class. I think outside of them, I'm not picking anybody with certainty.
Apologies to Perry Balls, just asked a question. I need to get to Jamie's question on Twitch, and then I do need to dash, unfortunately. But hold your thought for the next show, and then we'll move it on. So Jamie asks on Twitch, it seems to me that there's a lot of risky picks this year. Bryce is an outlier, but the other quarterbacks have little production. Anderson's a little small. Witherspoon is small. The tackles are underwhelming. Who are the safest picks in the NFL draft this year? Interesting way to spin the question.
Bijan's definitely up there for safety. You know what about the whole position is, isn't it? It's plug and play.
So
Bijan.
I guess you're talking about guys who've got high floors here. I guess that's what you mean by safe, isn't it? That there's not a risk of bust. I figure Miles Murphy would be a safe floor.
Yeah.
I know he got ransacked by Whitmore today, but I think he's quite a safe floor. I think he's going to be quite a high floor and could potentially be pretty good on the flip side of it. I mean, running backs, Bijan, yeah, absolutely. He's safe. He's absolutely safe. It's just a thing with running backs and injuries. You're going to get that there. I mean, wide receivers, no one's safe. Tight end, no one's safe. They're all risks.
Can I venture?
I think Torrance, Osiris Torrance, honestly, he comes from a run-heavy Florida system. They like to run the ball. They play the way we do to a degree, and he plays at a position we really need. I think even if he's not worth the 18th overall pick in the draft, which he might not be, I think you would still get the value of like a good second rounder out of him, and he will be like a good cog in a line with elite guys around him. So I think he is very safe if that's the way you want to go.
I'm going to be controversial, and I'm going to pick a quarterback of someone who I think has a high floor. But I don't want him, and it's CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
I see him as a low ceiling, high floor player who's going to give you exactly what he gives you right now, which is the ability to win games, but not the big ones. And like, he doesn't have all the tools I want, and his upside isn't as high as I want it to be. I see him not dissimilarly from the only first rounder last year, Pittsburgh.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I kind of see him in that sort of mold. He's got a slightly higher profile than that, but I mean,
he's
similar
at worst. Yeah, he's at worst. He's Gardner Minshew, and at best, he's in that Carr, Goff, Cousins, Tannehill kind of range. He's definitely a safe QB, but he's not.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what this meaning of safe is, right? John Michael Schmitz might be one of the most safe picks in the draft at center. Not for the Lions, just generally out there. He's going to be an exceptionally good player.
Yeah, I think those are some of the safest ones you'll get. Outside of that, like I say, a lot of potentially really good players. I mean, out of corners, I guess if you're going in the corner room, I think Porter will be really good. I think in terms of floor wise, because I think he's got the build and the stature to. You can at least give him a go at multiple positions. You won't play him out, but you can play him in. Can move him inside a little bit if you want to, I think. And he comes from a system that generally creates high tier defense. I know you don't want to go entirely off the school, but Penn State every single year, it's high level talent that comes out of there. And even if it doesn't break out to be elite, it's usually reliable NFL caliber talent that you're getting from there. So as I said, I just think he's got the frame. He doesn't have the frame issues that Witherspoon does. So I think you're not going to get that with him.
Jamie suggests Branch.
See, Branch is a hybrid because, as Ash so often points out, and rightly so, he's going to probably be a hybrid guy at the next level who plays a specialized role, and that comes with pitfalls as well. If you can't do it, what are you going to do with him after that? Is he just going to be a safety? You go try and move him to corner. If it doesn't work with his initial thing, then it's very hard to get him back. I'd add Diane Henley has been incredibly unsafe in terms of his tweener ability and what he's going to do, but I would draft him at a heartbeat. Probably one of the guys I'd sign off first in the draft now and sign him because of how good he can be, but the floor is way, way low, like Jamie says, with so many of these guys. So, and Branch has the same problem. If he doesn't succeed at what he's projected to, the floor could move very quickly with him downwards.
See, you saying Branch, and I know it's going to sound biased because he's an FSU player, but Jamie Robinson, because he's that hybrid safety role, but he also can be a two high safety. He can play single high safety. He's done that before. He's even played in the box. I think if you're looking at sort of those players, he's the safest, but he's like the Stroud of the class, I think. He's definitely the safest one of the three, but he's also got the lowest upside. Like he won't come out and be like a great player in all eventuality, but he's definitely a safety you can plug and play in pretty much anywhere and he'll do okay.
Right, I need to drop, unfortunately, now. So thanks to everyone on the chat for sticking along with us and giving us questions, especially after the show's gone. Thanks to you guys too. I'll converse about the prospects that perhaps we need to have a look at over the next week in the next day or two, so keep an eye out for that. In fact, Ant, maybe we can discuss who we want to put on that.
Yeah, sure.
Shortly. Otherwise, folks, it's been a pleasure. See you soon. Have a good one. Tune in on Friday for the college show. Bye.